Douluo, my Sharingan isn't very proper. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement, this story is 100% epic fiction. So please don't attempt real magic, the results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 226 Far Ahead. After Liu Erlong went down the wrong path, Yichu had truly given up struggling and decided to go along with it. His last shred of reason was overwhelmed by the burning passion in his heart. Even though Liu Erlong possessed a dragon-type beast spirit and her physical attributes far surpassed those of other spirit masters of the same level, she was still somewhat inferior to Yichu in that aspect. After being suppressed by her for a period of time, Yichu ushered in his moment of counterattack. The serfs had risen and were singing. A notification sound seemed to come from his mind. Congratulations on successful job change. Unlocked job, Tyrannosaurus night. The long night eventually came to an end. Purple clouds rose in the eastern sky, and the sun rose high. Outside the tree hollow, Douluo stretched and yawned. The crackling campfire had died down, and the commotion inside, with its dinosaurs fighting wolves, had finally subsided. It seems, this medicine was a bit too strong. I hope they're alright. Douluo rubbed his eyes, somewhat gloating. His medicine was already far ahead in this area. This could be considered a way to make up for his failed attempt to drug her last time. He chuckled strangely, slowly lying down on the ground. He could finally close his eyes and rest for a while. The light from outside shone into the cave, making it much brighter. On the straw mat on the ground, a lone man and woman lay. Liu Erlong was tightly embracing Yichu, leaning against his chest. Tears streamed down her face, her brows subtly revealing a tenderness. Her beautiful face was flushed, her brows slightly furrowed, a captivating expression that was hard to decipher, whether it was pain or pleasure. Yichu frowned, his eyes opening and closing. He wanted to raise his hand to shield his eyes from the light, but instead touched something silky smooth. He was slightly startled, memories of last night flooded back, making his heart race just thinking about it. He lowered his eyes, glancing at the somewhat frail Liu Erlong. He couldn't recover for a long time. His left arm was pressed against her delicate skin, unable to move. With a helpless sigh, he switched hands and covered his face. His head was spinning. Even after bathing in dragon blood, his physical strength hadn't improved. Instead, his muscles ached. He sensed his internal state. His soul power still couldn't circulate smoothly. That old bastard, Yichu gritted his teeth. He hadn't expected Douluo to dare give Liu Erlong such a strong medicine. The battle had been over for so long, yet he still couldn't fully mobilize his soul power. Feeling his back and waist aching, Yichu had no choice but to adjust his soul power first. He quietly began to circulate the somewhat clumsy Zhuanpianggong. Feeling the alluring beauty pressing against him, he gently inhaled the enchanting fragrance. He made a decision. Since she would be his woman sooner or later, there was no need to be so conflicted. It was already like this, there seemed to be no need to think about anything else. After a moment, Yichu noticed a beauty in his arms move. He turned his head and looked at Liu Erlong, whose cheeks had turned red. Yichu reached out and touched her delicate, flawless face, pale and flushed, slightly rough from tears. He tucked a few strands of hair behind her ear. "Are you going to keep your eyes closed?" Yichu asked, pulling her voluptuous body into his arms. He placed his hands on her waist, his fingertips sliding as if tickling her. Liu Erlong's body trembled, her pretty face blooming like a peach blossom, her earlobes glistening with desire. Hearing Yichu's voice, knowing she couldn't escape, Liu Erlong opened her eyes. Her eyes sparkled, alluring and seductive. Her soft hands gently caressed Yichu's chest. With lingering breath, she softly called out to Yichu. Yichu's azure eyes remained fixed on her, his hands gently squeezing the soft flesh of her waist. Liu Erlong blushed, her lips parted slightly, her eyes filled with fear and panic. "Yichu, I'm sorry, I was just scared, none of that matters. Get up now." Before she could finish, Yichu interrupted her. Hearing this, Liu Erlong's face paled, she bit her red lips, tears welling in her eyes. She said stubbornly, "No matter what, I won't regret it." Saying this, she slowly closed her eyes, letting the tears fall. Seeing that she started crying before he could say anything more, Yichu couldn't help but roll his eyes. If you don't regret it, why are you crying? I'm just a little sad, Liu Erlong said, crying, her tears already falling on Yichu. Don't be sad, I'm the victim, Yichu said irritably, then pinched her chin. He held her slightly swollen red lips, his hands not idle as he held her. Liu Erlong was stunned for a moment, then slowly reciprocated, hugging Yichu and giving him whatever he wanted. Only when he noticed she had stopped sobbing did Yichu slowly release her. Liu Erlong tilted her head back, a few tears welling up at the corners of her mouth, looking at Yichu with a somewhat bewildered expression. She bit her red lips and said in a plaintive voice, Yichu, I'm sorry, I'll leave on my own later. Leave? Yichu looked at her in astonishment, gently wiping her mouth and eyes with a hint of annoyance. I just woke you up, I didn't say I didn't want to. Yichu's words brought a renewed spark to Liu Erlong's spirits, which had been somewhat despondent. Before she could speak, Yichu gave her a hard peck on the lips, looking at her teasingly. Besides, you did something so terrible to me, don't you need to take responsibility? Liu Erlong's face flushed red, and she suddenly froze. Then, she hugged Yichu with overwhelming joy. Really? I'll definitely take responsibility to the end, I'll be good to you for the rest of my life. Oucha! Liu Erlong was so excited that her movements were a little too forceful, and she suddenly pulled at her wound. Don't take it too seriously, I was just kidding. What? You? Whimper. Hearing Yichu's voice, Liu Erlong's face panicked again. She was about to speak when she sensed something, like a cool breeze, and trembled all over, her legs tightly pressed together. Her cherry lips parted, she breathed softly, and her eyes were tightly closed. Yichu's soul power had recovered somewhat, and his hands glowed with a faint green light as he gently healed Liu Erlong's injuries. Looking at the blushing Liu Erlong, who dared not look at him, Yichu smiled gently. Of course I was just joking. After all, I'm the one who should be responsible. Hearing Yichu's words, Liu Erlong was moved, about to open her shimmering eyes. But she lost her composure and suddenly shivered. She clenched her teeth tightly, closed her eyes again, and her neck turned pink. Yichu, who was using the Blue-Silver Emperor's first soul skill, was also stunned for a moment. Realizing that the old man was right, Liu Erlong gritted her teeth. The chill had passed, but she was still too ashamed to face anyone and dared not open her eyes. Yichu waited for her for a while, but she remained nestled in his arms, unable to contain her shyness. He had no choice but to remind her, Erlong, shouldn't you get up? The blankets that have been on the floor all night are a bit damp. It's not good to sleep on them for too long. Yes, I know. Hearing Yichu's words, Liu Erlong became even more embarrassed and tremblingly released him. Freed from his restraints, Yichu looked around, trying to find some clothes, but only saw some white strips of cloth in the corner of the screen. His lips twitched slightly. Liu Erlong also lowered her eyes, too guilty to look at him. In that situation, she should just tear them off to avoid waking Yichu. Helpless, Yichu had no choice but to use his remaining soul power to activate the eternal kaleidoscope. A set of clothes immediately appeared on the ground. Just as Yichu was about to move, Liu Erlong grabbed his arm. Husband, let Erlong help you, no need. Oh, before Yichu could finish speaking, Liu Erlong had already pulled back the covers. Yichu was momentarily unable to look away. Liu Erlong, now standing up, was incredibly alluring. Her delicate face radiated a captivating and seductive glow. Her brows and eyes exuded a languid and contented charm. She possessed the unique curves of a woman, slender where she should be, and full where she should be, perfectly proportioned. Her shoulders were broad but not overly strong, forming a perfect balance with her slender waist. Her figure was shapely and graceful, radiating an irresistible charm whether she was dressed or undressed. Yichu glared at her fiercely a few times before his gaze shifted away furtively. Liu Erlong, who had been quite shy, immediately opened her arms. She was both coy and generous. Then she slowly pulled Yichu up and helped her husband dress. Yichu kept his eyes straight ahead. She seemed to have some bruises on her body, and while feeling a pang of guilt, she cursed Douluo in her heart once more. She continued to slowly recover her soul power. After helping Yichu get dressed, Liu Erlong's face was flushed red. She took out a towel and a small pot of drinking water from her soul tool. Her face red, she handed them to Yichu. Husband, you help me wipe myself down. Yichu stared at her, stammering as he took the things. Liu Erlong pursed her red lips and slowly opened her arms. Yi Ju swallowed involuntarily, his hands trembling slightly. Every place he touched blushed. Erlong, I've already treated you once. You should do it yourself, so you don't sweat all the while. In the end, Yi Ju couldn't resist the temptation. His mouth was dry, and he felt like he was about to explode at the sight of her. This young man, full of youthful vigor, couldn't withstand the test of this slightly plump, young woman. After treating her bruises, Yi Ju lowered his head, bowed, and slunk away. That old bastard Douluo's medicine is really effective, even after so long, its effects are still there. Liu Erlong looked back at Yi Ju's retreating figure, smiling foolishly. Arms wrapped around himself, face flushed, this shortcut seemed pretty good after all. Hey, kid, not bad energy at all. It's almost noon. Yi Ju had just stepped out of the tree hole when he heard a piercing laugh. Instantly, the veins on his forehead bulged. He glared at Douluo resentfully and snorted coldly. HMPH. It's all thanks to you, you old bastard. Hey. How dare you talk like that, brat? It wasn't me who gave you the drug. Douluo, who had been lying down, sat up, looking at Yi Ju, whose steps were somewhat unsteady, with a mocking expression. Looks like my medicine is working well. Quite the luck with women, quite the luck with women, Douluo said, clapping his hands as he spoke. Yi Ju's face darkened. Laugh, I'll tell Yan Yan it's all your fault, you old bastard, you dare. Sure enough, as soon as Yi Ju finished speaking, Douluo's expression changed. His beard couldn't withstand Douluo Yan's plucking a few more times. He immediately became furious. Don't think I don't know, even without me, your relationship is a done deal, but you put Yan Yan at the back again. Yi Ju, supporting his waist, came to Douluo's side and patted his shoulder. Don't worry, I believe Yan Yan won't pluck it all out for you. Douluo's hand, which was stroking his beard, suddenly tightened, and he winced in pain. You brat, he turned around to say something, but Yi Ju ignored him and sat up to repair his soul power. He needed to quickly cleanse the remaining medicinal power in his body and then properly treat and recover his waist. In his semi-conscious state, he couldn't be as considerate of Xiao Wu as he was when they were together. This had ended up hurting both himself and others. Douluo started scratching his head. He didn't think Yi Ju's words were alarmist. He knew his granddaughter's personality better than anyone. What should we do? Do we have to go out and hide again? No, how about we get some medicine for Yan Yan too? A twins gift package. That seems feasible. Douluo tugged at his beard, as if he had found a way out. The sun was high in the sky. Yi Ju quickly recovered and was fully healed. If he hadn't been unable to use his soul power, he wouldn't be in this state. He didn't go to the starred-out Great Forest to hunt any game. After greeting Douluo, he ran back to Yongdao City and bought some good food to fill his stomach, food to replenish his blood, and food to replenish his water. The space distorted, and Yi Ju's figure appeared out of thin air. He looked around but didn't see Liu Erlong's figure, and he became a little strange. Senior Douluo, this is for you. He took out a food box from the Divine Might space and placed it in front of Douluo. Kid, your soul skill is really too convenient. Douluo, who was pondering a powerful fertility-enhancing formula, suddenly smelled a sumptuous meal and immediately came back to his senses. Yi Ju smiled and turned to walk into the tree hole. Alright, senior, you can eat slowly. I'll go check on Erlong first. Go ahead. You've suffered enough. Douluo waved his hand dismissively. Several black lines appeared on Yi Ju's forehead. This disrespectful old man is all because of your medicine. Muttering to himself again, Yi Ju walked straight inside. Douluo was right. His physical condition was originally strong. Although he had lost his mind, he remembered that Liu Erlong seemed to be a little confused as well. Otherwise, she wouldn't have slept until noon with tears all over her face. Passing through the screen, Yi Ju looked at Liu Erlong, who was already dressed but still sitting sideways on the mat, somewhat puzzled. Erlong, what's wrong? Liu Erlong, her face slightly flushed, opened her arms to Yi Ju. Yi Ju squatted down, embracing her graceful body and helping her stand up. Husband, I'm still a little sore. Liu Erlong leaned against Yi Ju, looking up at him shyly. She didn't want to blame him, after all, she had brought this on herself, though a hint of fear lingered in her eyes. Yi Ju touched his nose, somewhat embarrassed. He forced a serious expression and said, it was my oversight. He then used the first soul skill of the Blue Silver Emperor, Unending Life, to heal her from all angles. Once she was fully recovered, Yichu pushed her wriggling body away. A little embarrassed, he turned his back. PFFT, ha ha ha, Liu Erlong, blushing, looked at him and let out a hearty laugh. Yichu was indeed more interesting at this moment. Alright, hurry up and get out, lest you get smelled again. Yichu turned her head away, giving her a disgruntled look, and was about to walk out. Liu Erlong blushed and sniffed. She didn't seem to find it strange. Wait a moment, hearing her voice, Yichu turned back again, looking at her with confusion. She saw Liu Erlong folding up the slightly damp quilt, revealing a white cloth embroidered with red plum blossoms underneath. Yichu was stunned when she saw the white cloth. No wonder she went to such lengths, placing an easily spoiled white cloth on the mat in this kind of place. It was all premeditated. Liu Erlong smiled, carefully folded the cloth, held it to her chest, and then put it into her soul tool. She looked up, about to put away the screen. Seeing Yichu's meaningful gaze, her face immediately flushed red. She awkwardly put the screen away. Feeling a little awkward, Liu Erlong walked to Yichu's side and took his arm. Husband, let's go. Don't call me husband anymore. Why? Are you still angry with me? Before Yichu could finish speaking, Liu Erlong looked at him anxiously and worriedly. How could I? We're inseparable now, but aren't you still the dean? From now on, it's better to call me that in private. Yichu put his arm around her waist and gently squeezed it. HMPH. What are you afraid of? If anyone dares to say anything, I'll tear their mouth apart. Liu Erlong didn't think so, raising her fist and waving it. She didn't care about these things. She just wanted to spend her whole life with Yichu. Okay. Whatever. Yichu's forehead creased with a few black lines, feeling a little embarrassed. Just now she was all soft and sweet, looking hurt and shy, but now she's calling him my husband all the time. Whatever makes you happy. Let's go. Yichu took her hand and walked outside. Liu Erlong followed closely behind, clinging to Yichu's arm. As long as my husband isn't angry with me. The two walked together, and seeing Douluo's teasing gaze, both looked somewhat embarrassed. Liu Erlong bowed slightly to Douluo. Your Majesty. Douluo Erlong thanks you for your help. Douluo narrowed his eyes, glancing at Yichu, who seemed somewhat unfriendly towards him. He raised his hand to stop her. No need. Liu Erlong looked at Douluo strangely. Yichu, however, had already walked to the side and began to release some tonics she had bought and a small table from her divine power space. Douluo looked at Yichu, his beard bristling and eyes wide. He said to Liu Erlong, no need to thank me. I've gotten myself into trouble for helping you. You're both thanking me and blaming me. Why don't you settle this amongst yourselves and even it out? Liu Erlong was somewhat puzzled by Douluo's attitude. Little did Douluo know that he still thought it best for Yichu to let things settle peacefully. Even if he gave the medicine to his granddaughter, she might not accept it. Liu Erlong glanced at Yichu and gently shook her head. I'm sorry, Your Majesty, I cannot make decisions for my husband. Yichu? When she mentioned the word husband in front of others, Liu Erlong's face suddenly turned red. Her previous toughness had long since disappeared. She quickly changed her form of address. Alright, Erlong, come and fill your stomach. You must be quite exhausted, and you still need to absorb a soul ring later. Yichu also gave her a teasing look. He called her over. Yes. Coming, Liu Erlong responded softly. Her face flushed, and she took small steps to sit down opposite Yichu. Seeing Yichu frown, she secretly regretted that she suddenly couldn't say anything. Douluo's gaze followed Liu Erlong to Yichu. You brat, you really don't know what's good for you. He slammed down a mouthful of wine, feeling a pang of annoyance as he thought of his granddaughter. What a scoundrel. He'd been waiting to see how this brat would explain things to Yan Yan. Now look what happened. He didn't even need to explain to the boy, he'd just taken advantage of her and shifted the blame onto himself. The boy was now happily embracing both women. All was well. It seemed he couldn't just help Yichu's women in the future. Once bitten, twice shy, Douluo silently learned his lesson. Yichu had no time to deal with him. He was busy serving Liu Erlong food. Erlong, drink more of this chicken soup. It has angelica, goji berries, and other things. It's good for replenishing ki, blood, and fluids. Thank you, husband, Liu Erlong replied softly. Her face flushed, as she held her bowl and chopsticks. She was determined to slowly get used to this form of address. Meanwhile, Douluo, not far away, suddenly shuddered. He glanced at them with disdain. Carrying her things, she moved a little further away. This action made Liu Erlong even more embarrassed, and she even glared fiercely at Douluo, who had turned his back. Yichu had no doubt. If she could fight back, she definitely wouldn't have held back. "Husband, Yichu, you've worked hard too, have something to eat." Liu Erlong gritted her teeth, but still didn't say it. Seeing Yichu's somewhat teasing eyes, she blushed and glared at him. Charming and beautiful, noon had passed. Yichu and the others were finally about to begin their soul-hunting journey again. Walking in the starred-out great forest, Douluo had just scared away a wave of soul beasts with the azure scale serpent king's poison. He glanced at Liu Erlong, who was always sticking to Yichu's side, and immediately looked away, unable to bear looking at her. He asked Yichu, "I said, is her body okay if we go soul hunting now?" He knew what kind of medicine he used, enough to make anyone want to share everything. "Don't worry, with my treatment, Erlong's body has already fully recovered and there won't be any problems." Yichu put away his X-ray vision and replied to him. "Kid, speaking of which, I'd like to ask you, where did your healing soul skill come from? Isn't it little girl's Island soul skill?" Douluo looked at Yichu strangely. Although he was in the Rui 100 treasures pouch at the time, he could still hear some noises. Yichu smiled lightly. He didn't pretend anymore and directly revealed his hand. He raised his hand, and a golden blue-silver emperor with a red and blue halo appeared in his palm. He said with a smile, "Senior, I actually have a special twin martial soul." Twin martial soul? Douluo suddenly widened his eyes and rushed towards Yichu. Liu Erlong was so frightened that she stood aside. "That's right, it is a twin martial soul. And it's a twin martial soul that can be used at the same time." 3 purple soul rings suddenly appeared on the blue-silver emperor in Yichu's hand, the third of which was even faintly black. The third spirit ring lit up, and several small blue and red fruits appeared on the blue-silver emperor. At the same time, Yichu's Sharingan also lit up. 3 dark purple spirit rings rose from beneath his feet. The first purple spirit ring lit up, and a tree branch in the distance was suddenly snapped off. "Good, good, good. You've been hiding this well," Douluo exclaimed 3 times, his eyes brimming with undisguised joy. He patted Yichu's shoulder so hard it made a loud thud. "Your Majesty." Liu Erlong quickly pulled Yichu to her side. Douluo didn't pay attention to this small detail, marveling at the situation. "I never imagined that the relationship between you and Xiaolan was so wondrous. The world is full of wonders." He had seen Xiaolan's spirit skills before. She and Yan Yan had sparred together. The identical spirit and spirit skills were enough to explain things. "I just got lucky," Yichu smiled nonchalantly, making Douluo feel that he deserved a beating. All right, let's continue looking for suitable soul beasts." Douluo waved his hand, but the corners of his mouth, which he couldn't suppress, revealed his inner excitement. Twin martial souls. And they could be used simultaneously. This initial stock was increasingly exceeding his expectations. "Erlong, let's go." Yichu quickly followed with Liu Erlong. Under the scanning vision of Yichu's Sharingan, the efficiency of finding soul beasts was quite high. During this time, they encountered quite a few 10,000-year-old soul beasts that were acceptable, either fire attribute or with some dragon blood. But none of them were very satisfactory. It was dusk again, and Yichu and the others were resting under a tree. Liu Erlong took a few gulps of water from her water bottle and then held it to Yichu's lips. "Yichu, have some water." Douluo covered his face, picked up the water bottle, and gulped down the water. He tilted his head back high, trying to avoid seeing it. Yichu chuckled and nodded, not refusing. He looked up. Suddenly, he saw something and opened his mouth, only to choke. "PFFT, cough cough." "Yichu, are you alright?" "I didn't mean to." Liu Erlong hurriedly patted Yichu's back. Douluo also heard the commotion and looked gloating, as if he had gotten his revenge. I'm fine. Yichu shook his head, quickly raised his head, opened his Sharingan, and looked at a cliff in the distance. There seemed to be a suitable soul beast for Liu Erlong there. 10,000 words today. Wishing everyone a happy life. QQ Group. 831,821,005. Chapter 227. Be a little more carefree. What appeared in Yichu's sight was a slender, reddish lizard. Unlike ordinary lizards, it possessed a pair of enormous dragon wings, with a wingspan of no less than 10 meters. From head to tail, it was about 16 or 17 meters long. A 70,000-year-old soul beast, a thunderflame dragon lizard, Yichu looked up and said in a deep voice. Boy, what did you say? Douluo looked at him strangely, following his gaze, but even with his eyesight, he could only see a black dot that resembled a cross. Senior, Erlong's soul ring has been secured. There's a thunderflame dragon lizard of about 70,000 years old on the mountain wall there. Yichu's face lit up with joy. He grabbed Liu Erlong's soft hand, which was still resting on his collar, and said to Douluo, a 70,000-year-old thunderflame dragon lizard. Douluo's face stiffened. This kid really knew how to give him a difficult problem. However, with the help of the young couple, it wasn't impossible to deal with. Liu Erlong's face also showed joy. The thunderflame dragon lizard was indeed very suitable for her, and its age was also higher than she had expected. Since that's the case, let's go take a look over there, Douluo said, slowly rising into the air and looking down at Yichu and Liu Erlong. Yichu, ride on me, I'll fly you over. Although Liu Erlong's martial soul was a crimson dragon, she could only fly when she was in her true martial soul form. No need, no need, Yichu quickly grabbed her. Although Yichu wouldn't mind being a dragon knight who could ride freely, it was better to forget it in this situation. She still needed to save her soul power to absorb soul rings. Then how are you going to get over there? Fly over, Yichu, under Liu Erlong's somewhat puzzled gaze, suddenly lifted her up slowly, causing Liu Erlong to exclaim in surprise. This was the flying soul skill of the 100,000-year-old blue-silver emperor's right leg bone. Yichu, you can fly now. Liu Erlong hugged Yichu tightly, looking at him in amazement. Well, just stay focused. I'll take you there. Don't resist, Yichu said softly, his eternal kaleidoscope already open. Liu Erlong hesitated, opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. Although she really wanted Yichu to carry her or ride her on a spontaneous flight, Yichu's words made sense. Carrying her would be a burden for him. So she cooperated and was taken into Yichu's divine might space. Senior, let's go. After settling Liu Erlong, Yichu ascended, standing shoulder to shoulder with Douluo, who had been waiting for a long time. Okay, Douluo nodded slightly and began to move. Yichu looked at the dense trees below, stretching as far as the eye could see, and felt a sense of gankei, a feeling of mixed emotions, including nostalgia and awe. Soon, Yichu and Douluo arrived near the small mountain. The entire thunderflame dragon lizard was now in Yichu's view. Its entire body was covered in deep crimson scales, flowing like lava. Its head was broad, its two fierce yellow eyes gleaming with a cunning and cruel light. Its mouth contained dagger-like sharp teeth, and its breath was corrosive. On its forehead was a tuft of bright red mane, shaped like a flame, its most distinctive feature. Its tail was long and powerful, with a sharp tip like a steel whip, possessing immense offensive power. Its limbs were thick and strong, its claws as hard as steel, capable of easily tearing through any defense. Its joints were covered in bone spurs, making it a veritable killing machine. Yichu and Douluo stood in the distance, watching the thunderflame dragon lizard resting on the rock wall. Kid, you stay on the sidelines and wait for your chance. Don't get too close. I'll take the lead, okay, got it. With that, Douluo adjusted himself slightly and flew towards the thunderflame dragon lizard. Behind him, the azure scale serpent king's eyes gleamed with a predatory ferocity. 9 spirit rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black, were revealed beneath its feet. 7th soul skill, azure scale true body. 6th soul skill, azure scale serpent king break. The 6th and 7th soul rings on Douluo's flying body suddenly flashed. His flight speed increased dramatically. Boom! A gigantic azure scale serpent king charged directly at the rock wall, savagely crashing into it before the thunderflame dragon lizard could react. The rock wall shattered, with rubble tumbling down. Below, soul beasts fled for their lives. Roar! A beastly roar echoed across the sky. A crimson figure, over 10 meters long, suddenly flew out from the rock wall, its yellow eyes filled with rage. Intense purple arcs of electricity suddenly erupted from its crimson body, like tiny purple dragons crawling across it, brimming with explosive power. Without hesitation, it unleashed a dragon's breath towards the human who dared to disturb its rest. The crimson dragon's breath, mixed with lightning, blasted towards Douluo. The emerald green jade scale serpent king opened its blood red maw, unleashing a thick, green beam of light that collided with the dragon's breath. They were locked in a stalemate. Meanwhile, Yichu, in the distance, had already released Liu Erlong. Erlong, be careful. Yichu pulled her into his arms, looking at the already spirited Liu Erlong, and whispered a gentle warning in her ear. Okay, I know. Liu Erlong nodded gently, giving Yichu a light kiss on the cheek. Just as she was about to activate her martial soul true body, Yichu stopped her. I'll help you. Be careful. With that, Yichu grabbed her hand and flung her away. Feeling the wind whipping her face, a smile flashed in Liu Erlong's eyes. Her martial soul shone behind her, her full body adorned with 7 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black. Looking at the thunder flame dragon lizard directly below her, Liu Erlong's expression turned cold, and she let out a low shout. 7th soul skill, Crimson Dragon true form, man and martial soul emerged, and a graceful crimson dragon suddenly unfurled its wings. A twilight scene obscured the sky above the thunder flame dragon lizard. Roar the thunder flame dragon lizard, locked in a stalemate with Douluo, watched the attack from the sky. It withdrew its attack, intending to retreat, but its body froze in place. 8th soul skill, time freeze, Douluo's voice echoed softly. A jet black soul ring suddenly unfolded on a massive azure scale serpent king, encompassing the thunder flame dragon lizard within the soul skills range. Liu Erlong, without hesitation, seized the opportunity. Yichu also quickly moved closer. 6th soul skill, explosive fire dragon speed, Liu Erlong's cold voice rang out, and her 6th soul ring flashed. The entire crimson dragon ignited with raging flames, flapping its wings and unleashing a powerful breath. A colossal dragon, identical to Liu Erlong's true form, formed from flames. Lunged at the already controlled thunder flame dragon lizard. A split second. The thunder flame dragon lizard's pupils trembled violently, and the lightning on its body suddenly surged. Crackling sounds filled the air. The lightning spread to its 2 wings, which then trembled violently. It had actually broken free from Douluo's control. Roar, with a roar, its wings continued to flap, unleashing a hurricane of lightning and fire to meet Liu Erlong's attack. The lightning, mixed with highly corrosive crimson dragon breath, swept out in a hurricane-like formation, threatening to explode at any moment. Not good. This beast might be a mutated soul beast. Douluo's face darkened, and he quickly attacked again. His 3rd and 4th soul rings flashed. Azure Scale Serpent King Poison, Azure Scale Bewildering Array. A purple-green poisonous gas was rapidly exhaled by the Azure Scale Serpent King. Roar, the Thunder Flame Dragon Lizard wasn't to be outdone, unleashing a burst of Thunder Flame Dragon breath that directly shattered the light. Boom. Douluo, his face cold, dodged the dragon breath. The rock wall behind him cracked inch by inch, collapsing and sending rubble tumbling down. Rumble. At the same time, Liu Erlong's attack collided with a hurricane. Terrifying heat swept out, seemingly evaporating the water vapor in the air, emitting wisps of white smoke. Thunder raged, like a thundercloud that lingered for a long time. The crimson dragon in the sky was also forced back slightly. Douluo's attack, which had been shattered earlier, didn't stop. It transformed into poisonous mist, slowly enveloping the thunder flame dragon lizard. Roar. A loud roar rang out, its wings flapping continuously, blowing away the poisonous mist. However, its crimson scales still emitted a sizzling sound. The corrosive power of the Azure Serpent King's poison unleashed by a tidal Douluo was no joke. Just as he was about to retreat, trying to fly out of the poison array, Yichu had already silently approached, blood trickling from his right eye. Amaterasu. Roar, one of the Thunder Flame Dragon Lizard's front legs was unfortunately ignited by Yichu's Amaterasu, its constant roars mixed with groans and rage. Looking at the human ants who dared to attack and harm it in the distance, its eyes were filled with savagery. With a roar, a dragon's breath blasted towards Yichu. Yichu. Be careful, Liu Erlong's anxious voice rang in Yichu's ears. Just as she was about to fly towards Yichu, she discovered that the terrifying dragon's breath had directly pierced through him. She breathed a sigh of relief. But her anger was not diminished at all. Beast! You dare to attack Yichu? You're courting death. 3rd soul skill, Thunderous Fury. 4th soul skill, Bloodthirsty Flames. His 3rd and 4th soul rings flashed, and he spat out a large ball of terrifying crimson flames. Roar the Amaterasu flame, still scorching, caused the Thunder Flame Dragon Lizard excruciating pain. Its ferocity was fully unleashed, and the bloodlust in its eyes drove it mad. Facing Liu Erlong's attack, it flapped its wings, a gust of wind dispersing the crimson flames. Inside, however, remained a massive ball of lightning. Roar! With a furious roar, it unleashed a dragon's breath, but before it could even touch the lizard, a cold voice rang out from afar. Explode! As soon as Liu Erlong finished speaking, the lightning ball exploded near the Thunderflame Dragon Lizard. The Thunderflame Dragon Lizard was thrown back by the terrifying force of the explosion, nearly falling. Damaged by the lightning and scorching from the crimson flames, it had lost all will to fight. Kid, well done, Douluo watched Yichu, who had activated Susanoo and was floating in the air. His reaction was swift. He activated his 8th soul skill again, Time Freeze. The Thunderflame Dragon Lizard was once again fixed in the sky. Yichu wiped the sweat from his forehead. This guy's dragon breath was truly terrifying. He activated Susanoo again, quietly approaching the battlefield. 2nd soul skill, Crimson Iron Python Strangulation. 6th soul skill, Exploding Fire Dragon Swiftness. Seeing the Thunderflame Dragon Lizard about to break free of control, Douluo shouted. A giant crimson python, over 10 meters long and as thick as a bucket, suddenly shot out, strangling at the Thunderflame Dragon Lizard. Although it couldn't inflict too much damage, it tightly coiled the lizard. Liu Erlong's 6th soul skill followed at this moment. Roar! The Thunderflame Dragon Lizard's roar echoed throughout the sky. A powerful fireball of lightning was unleashed, meeting Liu Erlong's attack head-on. At the same time, it struggled constantly, trying to break free of its restraints. Divine Might, Yichu, his blood red, hardened ribs shielding him from the terrifying aftershocks, watched as the fireball of lightning suddenly sank into a lake, slowly disappearing into the void. Yichu covered his stinging eyes, a smug smile playing on his lips. The Thunderflame Dragon Lizard, having just broken free of its restraints, visibly paused upon seeing this. Boom! A burst of dazzling fireworks suddenly exploded in the golden sky, a deafening roar like thunder that seemed to pierce the heavens and earth. Roar! A hoarse roar echoed. A massive, plummeting dragon shadow suddenly opened its eyes and charged towards Yichu and Douluo. Yichu, Liu Erlong cried out in alarm. Yichu quickly dispelled his Susanoo and passed through it. Just as he dispelled his intangibility, the Thunderflame Dragon Lizard's lightning-wrapped tail lashed out. His eyes narrowed instantly. Whoosh! The scene before him flashed by. Liu Erlong had already arrived, grabbing Yichu in her hand and dodging the Thunderflame Dragon Lizard's sweeping attack. Douluo, standing not far away, also stepped forward. The three watched as the Thunderflame Dragon Lizard relentlessly crashed against the rock wall. Its forelegs were almost completely burned away, and its trunk was about to be consumed. Despite its constant crashing, it couldn't extinguish the Amaterasu black flame. It emitted hysterical screams. Yichu, stand on me and rest for a bit. Before Yichu could react, seeing him panting, Liu Erlong tossed him onto her back. Yichu felt a strange sensation standing on her martial soul true body. His left eye focused on the Thunderflame Dragon Lizard crashing against the rock wall. Enhance Earth Fate. Whoosh, roar roar. The black flames on its legs suddenly burst into flames, and the Thunderflame Dragon Lizard's yellow eyes began to swell with blood. It roared again, its bloodthirsty gaze sending a chill down Yichu's spine. It quickly lowered its head, and a tearing sound of flesh being ripped apart rang out, as if a small rain of blood was falling from the grove below. That beast is ruthless. Douluo's eyelids twitched as he looked at the scene before him. Then glanced at Yichu standing on the dragon's back. He couldn't help but marvel at the terrifying power of Yichu's soul skill. The Thunderflame Dragon Lizard's mouth was splattered with blood. A severed limb, falling downwards, was already burned to ashes before it even touched the ground. Blood continued to flow from the lizard, scattering across the forest below. It exhaled a breath of dragon breath, actually cooking its wounds to stop the bleeding. It cried out in anguish, its aura weakening. It glanced back at Yichu and the others, then prepared to fly away. It's trying to escape. Yichu, Liu Erlong suddenly flapped her wings, ready to give chase. She didn't forget to check on Yichu's condition. Don't worry, I still have some soul power left, Yichu smiled, and once again flew into the air. Senior Douluo, kid, I don't need your reminder, Douluo quickly replied, then followed closely behind. The Azure Serpent King's eyes flashed suddenly. Liu Erlong also gathered her strength, unleashing her soul power in an instant. 5th and 6th soul skills, Soaring Flames, Exploding Fire Dragon Swiftness. Liu Erlong flapped her wings, and a terrifying vortex of blood-red flames began to swirl around her. Suddenly, it transformed into a tornado, within which a gigantic fire dragon swept towards the thunder flame dragon lizard. Soulbone skill, Medusa's gaze. The Azure Serpent King's eyes shot out two emerald green rays, charging towards the thunder flame dragon lizard. Sensing the attack from behind, the thunder flame dragon lizard turned fiercely. Roar! This mournful cry seemed to be its final, desperate cry. Its dragon wings flapped, and a hurricane several meters wide suddenly condensed. Inside, a thundercloud continuously exploded. As the hurricane swept out, the thunder flame dragon lizard followed with a burst of dragon breath. Boom! The blinding explosions illuminated the sky that was about to darken once more. A few stone chips flew. The thunder flame dragon lizard's attack crumbled under Medusa's gaze. Liu Erlong's attack struck its body directly. Roar! A weak, mournful cry rang out, and in the thick flames, the enormous soul beast plummeted downwards. Half of its dragon wing was tattered, its scales were broken, and blood gushed out. It fell to the ground along with the setting sun. Erlong, hurry up and catch up, Yichu called out, skillfully landing on Liu Erlong's back and riding on her neck. The crimson color on the red dragon seemed to deepen considerably, and its wings suddenly became somewhat uncoordinated, almost tipping over. It steadied itself, blinked, and quickly chased after it downwards. This kid really knows how to have fun. Douluo watched this comical scene and quickly followed. Boom! While still flying, Liu Erlong spat out a mouthful of angry thunder. It struck the thunder flame dragon lizard's head. Blood spurted out. The cracking sounds of trees collapsing echoed continuously, the ground shoving deep into their roots. The enormous thunder flame dragon lizard had perished. The golden horizon slowly faded. A jet-black spirit ring appeared above the thunder flame dragon lizard's head. The Stardark Great Forest fell completely dark, save for the scattered fireflies and starlight above Buzz. Liu Erlong's martial soul true body dissipated, and Yichu landed gracefully, casting a resentful glance. Yichu chuckled dryly. Erlong, hurry up and recover. The sooner you absorb the spirit ring, the sooner we can leave this place. Yeah, that kid's right. Douluo also landed, urging her on. He added in his mind, I also want to get away from this pair of scoundrels as soon as possible. Okay, Liu Erlong nodded and sat down cross-legged, trying to recover to her peak condition. Yichu sat behind her, healing her hidden injuries and activating his blue-silver domain to aid her recovery. A moment later, Yichu finished his work. Senior Douluo, thank you so much for your help this time. Yichu stood up and walked over to Douluo, who was on guard. Hey, what are you talking about, kid? Douluo looked at Yichu mockingly, his laughter somewhat eerie in the darkness. Yichu's face darkened. He knew Douluo was being sarcastic again, trying to make him uncomfortable. A slightly relieved smile appeared on his face as he held up 3 fingers. 3 things: saving me, delivering medicine, and hunting souls. Thank you for everything. Douluo chuckled again. Hey, kid, no need to be polite. I'm just helping my grandson and granddaughter. Yichu gritted his teeth, clenching his fists. His expression, which had just relaxed, turned cold again. This old poisoner, he's really obsessed with being a grandfather. He could only stiffly correct him. Grandson and granddaughter-in-law are different. Ha, what's different? So, you're going to call me grandpa, aren't you? Douluo teased Yichu, slowly stroking his beard. Fine. You win. Yichu helplessly covered his face, realizing he'd been too easily swayed by the promise he'd made. Although he hadn't just made empty promises, they could indeed become tidal doubts. He'd even underestimated them. After all, if he'd been told that even gods had to call him grandpa, he certainly wouldn't have believed it. While they were chatting and joking, Liu Erlong was ready. Yichu, I'm ready. Liu Erlong stood up and came to Yichu's side, smiling at him. Well, if you're ready, let's start absorbing the spirit rings. Yichu cupped her face, gently rubbing it. The domineering female tyrant changed shape in his hands, a strange feeling that made him forget to let go. Then let her go. Douluo covered his face, inwardly screaming that he couldn't take it anymore. It seemed his decision to avoid having Yichu and his women under the same roof was indeed very wise and correct. Ahem, excuse me. Yichu awkwardly withdrew his hand. It's all right. Liu Erlong shyly touched her slightly flushed face, but her eyes flashed unfriendly at Douluo. Don't overthink it. Hurry up and absorb your 8th spirit ring. Okay, Liu Erlong responded softly, then walked to the side of the thunder flame dragon lizard, whose eyes were still wide open, seemingly dying with unfinished business. She sat cross-legged, circulated her spirit power, and drew the jet-black spirit ring towards her. She began absorbing her 8th spirit ring. "Senior, do you think this guy might drop a spirit bone?" Looking at the thunder flame dragon lizard's wide eyes, which seemed to hold hatred, Yichu muttered to himself and prepared to use his Sharingan to examine it. Before he could even open his eyes, Douluo poured cold water on his enthusiasm. "Don't be too greedy, kid. Didn't you get quite a few soul bones yesterday? If those sects knew you had such wealth, there might not be a place for you in the entire Soul Master world." Douluo gave him a speechless look. "Haha. Senior is exaggerating. Isn't it because you're here?" With a poisoned Douluo's intimidating presence, just your presence alone would surely make them all willing to have a good chat. Yichu knew perfectly well just how intimidating Douluo was. His strength didn't lie in his one-on-one combat ability, but in his ability to eliminate weaklings. Even soul saints couldn't be considered weaklings. Douluo's last 2 soul skills were rumored to be capable of slaughtering an entire city in a very short time. Even if a soul saint was poisoned by his Azure Serpent Emperor, it would be beyond saving. However, he also knew that Douluo wasn't exaggerating. Soul Masters weren't as glamorous as their status suggested. "Don't try to fool me, kid," Douluo glared at him and scolded. "The Soul Master world isn't as benevolent as you imagine." "Of course I know that." Yichu also put away his smile and nodded seriously. "Alright, let's not talk about this anymore." Douluo waved his hand, not wanting to discuss this topic anymore. Then he thought of the previous topic. "Speaking of which, you really should thank me for what happened last night. Otherwise, with you being so hesitant, when will I ever see them all calling me Grandpa?" "Senior, do you really want to be someone's grandfather?" Yichu rolled his eyes helplessly and said irritably. "Hey. What do you mean I want someone to be my grandfather? I'm just giving you some pointers." Douluo's serious expression suddenly made Yichu feel a little uncomfortable. "Give me pointers?" Yichu looked at him in confusion. Douluo stroked his beard, looking at Yichu with a meaningful expression. "I've known you for so long, and although your personality has changed somewhat, it's not enough. You need to continue to change properly. Think about whether you really want it. Actually, some things don't need to be so restrained. Look at you and her now, aren't you getting along well?" As he spoke, Douluo pointed to Liu Erlong, who was still absorbing the soul ring. "In the end, this world has always been ruled by the strong. The strong are respected." Douluo walked to Yichu's side, patted his shoulder, and said with emotion, "As a person, you have to be a little more carefree. If you like it, then go for it. Just go ahead and beat her up." Douluo's voice was extremely rough and penetrating. For a moment, Yichu was stunned. His lips twitched slightly, and he said with a wry smile, "Junior, I've learned my lesson. Take your time, call me if you need anything." Douluo stretched, found a suitable tree, leaned against it, and closed his eyes to rest. Yichu's occasional womanly compassion was indeed a pain to watch, but thankfully, he was slowly changing. This time, when administering the drug, he didn't even complain about any suicidal schemes. He yawned, slowly closed his eyes, and began to nap. The surroundings were eerily quiet, but Douluo's voice made Yichu think more deeply. He quietly sat down cross-legged, took out some firewood, and lit a campfire. Looking at Liu Erlong's beautiful face, Yichu fell into deep thought. Perhaps sometimes acting according to one's conscience would indeed reduce a lot of trouble. But he couldn't completely disregard Xiao Wu and Ningrongrong's feelings, could he? Otherwise, wouldn't things get really bad? He gently shook his head. These kinds of things weren't so easy to handle. He'd take it slow, perhaps first dealing with Jinring Su, who was trying to kill him. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 228 Thunder Flame Dragon Wings. The night was almost over. The sky was beginning to lighten. Douluo had already woken up, but Liu Erlong remained motionless. "Why is it taking so long?" "I don't know, but everything seems normal. Her aura is steadily rising. Let's wait and see." Yichu checked Liu Erlong's soul power fluctuations. They were indeed quite stable. As soon as Yichu finished speaking, he noticed Liu Erlong suddenly frown, a look of pain flashing across her face. "Kid, something's wrong." Douluo was startled. Yichu also tense up, his eyes flashing with a blood-red light. He already knew everything. Yichu had no reservations and directly used his X-ray vision. "Kid, Could this mutated soul beast have some kind of trick up its sleeve? Logically speaking, with a 70,000-year soul ring, her physique and strength shouldn't have any problems, right? Douluo also looked at Liu Erlong, whose face was contorted with worry. Senior, Yichu smiled bitterly and turned to look at Douluo. What's wrong? Just say it. Why are you just staring at me and laughing? Douluo frowned, somewhat annoyed. Haha. Looks like Erlong's luck is pretty good. This girl really got a soul bone. Yichu suddenly smiled. But Douluo looked like he'd seen a ghost. What did you say? A soul bone? A 70,000-year-old soul bone, yeah, and it's an external soul bone, Yichu said with a smile, looking at Liu Erlong, also very happy for her. An external soul bone? Are you kidding me? Douluo frowned. Poof. Suddenly, a muffled sound came, and Douluo looked at Liu Erlong, his expression even more exaggerated than if he'd seen a ghost. This really is an external soul bone, great. Erlong succeeded. Yichu looked at the crimson dragon wings crackling with electricity that had unfolded behind Liu Erlong, and was also extremely excited. The black soul ring slowly descended, respectfully mingling with Liu Erlong's other soul rings. His cultivation level was also slowly rising. Level 82. A 70,000-year-old external soul bone, Douluo murmured to himself. He looked at Yichu in confusion. He exclaimed in his heart that Yichu's luck was heaven-defying. With him, soul bones were no longer rare items, and there were even several external soul bones. Hooray! Liu Erlong's aura calmed down, and the crimson dragon martial soul behind her let out an excited dragon roar. Suddenly, her wings spread open, and Liu Erlong suddenly stood up in midair. Hovering in the air, each flap of her dragon wings made a crackling sound. Waves of heat also swept towards Yichu and the other person. Under her feet, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 4 black soul rings pulsed. Yichu, I succeeded. And I even have a soul bone. Liu Erlong opened her black eyes and looked at Yichu with bright eyes. At this moment, purple aura also overflowed from the horizon, and a faint light appeared. Liu Erlong's black hair fluttered, and her eyebrows and eyes were as beautiful as a painting. Erlong, congratulations. Yichu looked up at her, and seeing her rushing into his arms, he opened his arms as well. Yichu, Liu Erlong whispered softly, clinging tightly to Yichu, hugging him, and murmured gently, I'm a little cold. Douluo, standing to the side, gasped, covering his face and turning away. He had almost been sweating from being fanned by those wings. Yichu held her tightly. She had suffered a lot while fusing with the external soul bone. Sweating and then being exposed to cool breeze. She was indeed prone to catching a cold. A surge of heat from within dried Liu Erlong's clothes, and then he looked at Douluo, who was facing away from everyone. He smiled wryly and slowly released Liu Erlong. Alright, Erlong, tell me about your gains. Yichu tidied her hair and asked softly. Liu Erlong glared at the annoying Douluo again, smiled, released Yichu, and spun around in front of him. With a charming smile, she said, my external soul bone is called the Thunder Flame Dragon Wings. It can unleash thunder flame tornadoes, and it also increases all my attributes by 50%, as well as doubling the power of my dragon-type soul skills. So powerful, Douluo exclaimed in amazement. It truly lived up to its reputation as an external soul bone. Perhaps influenced by Douluo's persuasive words, Yichu's attention wandered elsewhere. He realized he wouldn't need to hold hands or have pigtails anymore. Holding wings seemed like a good idea too. Yichu quickly shook his head, deciding to leave those thoughts for later. He nodded seriously, it is indeed very powerful, but it must consume a lot of soul power, right? Liu Erlong gave Yichu a strange look, sensing a hint of desire in his gaze. However, she didn't dwell on it. Wasn't it a good thing that Yichu had such thoughts? She nodded, blushing. That's right, every time I unfold my external soul bone, it drains 30% of my soul power. This should decrease as the quality of the soul bone improves, right? Douluo guessed, stroking his chin. After all, the biggest feature of external soul bones is that they can grow along with the soul master. That's true, Yichu nodded, slightly avoiding Liu Erlong's meaningful gaze. What about the soul skill, the 8th soul skill, Thunder Flame Dragon Breath? Liu Erlong quickly replied, it can enhance lightning and fire attribute power, and when locked, it also has a 10% suppression effect on other non-dragon beast martial souls. Hiss, does that mean I'll also be restricted? Douluo gasped. This soul skill was truly terrifying. Haha. Erlong, Your gains this time are enough to make even a titled Douluo envious. Yichu smiled, took her hand, and looked at Douluo with some pride. Kid, what are you looking at? I'll be waiting for the day you call me grandpa, Douluo glared, and Yichu's smiling face immediately fell. He shouldn't have looked at him that one more time. PFFT haha. Liu Erlong couldn't help but giggle at Yichu's embarrassed look. She retracted the thunder flame dragon wings behind her and gently leaned on Yichu's shoulder. In the end, her biggest gain this time was neither the 8th spirit ring nor the external spirit bone, but that she was now relying on Yichu. Douluo didn't need to be jealous of that, did he? Alright. Douluo shook off the goosebumps on his body. One more look and he would explode. He urged, Kid, let's hurry back to Heavendao City. Okay, Yichu nodded, his eyes flashing with bloodlust. Where is Senior going? Just take me to the Douluo mansion in Heavendao City. I haven't been there in a long time. I want to go back and take a walk. Okay, Yichu replied, and space began to distort. The three figures disappeared into the starred-out great forest, leaving only the corpse of a thunder flame dragon lizard. The sun was slowly rising on the horizon. In Heavendao City, at the Douluo Manor, Yichu and Liu Erlong had already left. Douluo was looking at the letter handed to him by a servant, a letter that Zubang was supposed to give him. On the main street, things were bustling with activity, and all the shops had opened for business. Liu Erlong nestled beside Yichu, holding his arm tightly, as they strolled along the street towards the Blue Tyrant Academy. Yichu, why are you so nervous? We haven't done anything shameful. Liu Erlong looked at Yichu, whose movements were somewhat stiff, with a mixture of confusion and resentment. I'm just not used to it yet. Yichu awkwardly scratched his head. Alright. Looks like I'll have to take you out more often in the future. Liu Erlong didn't press him, but simply abandoned the idea of eating breakfast outside. Instead, she was quite considerate, quickening her pace to finish the journey. Yichu stopped after taking only 2 steps. Liu Erlong was puzzled and looked at him cautiously. If he didn't want to, she wouldn't force him. She asked, somewhat disappointed, Yichu, don't you want to stay with me, huh? Yichu looked away, snapping out of his daze, and quickly explained. Of course not, staying with you is what I should do. Yichu reached out and hugged her soft waist from behind, gently squeezing it. That's good, Liu Erlong said, blushing, and happily nestled in his arms. Let's go. Yichu glanced again at the magnificent and elegant building. A crescent-shaped decoration hung above the main entrance, surrounded by branches resembling plant vines, predominantly golden in color. Red patterned welcome mats adorned the steps. Then he looked away and pulled Liu Erlong away. Liu Erlong realized what was happening and looked back. There stood her best friend Tang Yuhua's territory, Yuxun. Husband, when do you plan to visit Yuhua? Liu Erlong's shy voice came. In a few days, Yichu pondered for a moment and said calmly. Some things had to be faced sooner or later. But before that, Yichu needed to explain Erlong's existence to Rongrong and the others. Especially Xiao Wu. He didn't want to cause any more trouble with the adoption of a foster mother. The sun had fully risen, and the sky was bright. The two had arrived at the entrance of Lanba Academy. Husband, we've arrived. Upon arriving at the entrance of her academy, Liu Erlong's face was flushed with excitement or perhaps shyness. She lowered her head slightly and said softly. Yichu gently squeezed her hand and teased, didn't you just say you'd often take me around, HMPH? As long as you're willing, of course I'm willing to accompany you. Liu Erlong blushed, raised her head and puffed out her chest, and pulled Yichu to the entrance. At this time, the students were on their way, and looking inside from here, there weren't many people. How is it? Husband, what do you think of my academy? Liu Erlong looked intently at Yichu, as if seeking praise, her expression somewhat proud. Very good, Yichu nodded, looking up. The gatehouse of Blue Tyrant Academy appeared to be almost as tall as the gate of Heavendao City, only much thinner. The white marble gatehouse, while not particularly ornate, was imposing, bearing 8 large gilded characters, Blue Tyrant Advanced Soul Master Academy. Today's 10,000 word update. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 229, A Second Blossom. Blue Tyrant Academy. This is the academy founded by Liu Erlong. Unlike the Heavenly Dao Imperial City Academy, Blue Tyrant Academy doesn't accept any noble students, it only accepts commoners. Let's go, husband. Liu Erlong happily took Yichu's arm and walked inside. After they passed, the guards at the gate were still a little stunned. Was that woman their dean? Strolling through Blue Tyrant Academy, looking at the towering buildings, Shrek Academy was like heaven and earth compared to this place. Liu Erlong lowered her head slightly, pulling Yichu towards her residence, her face flushed and silent. Her appearance made Yichu reluctant to walk so quickly. Smiling, he put his arm around her waist, gently caressing it, generating considerable heat that reddened her snow-white neck. Erlong, why don't you introduce me to these buildings in your academy? Yichu stopped beside a building, pinching Liu Erlong's chin, which was like an ostrich. Husband, here. A shy smile flashed in Liu Erlong's eyes. Being teased like this, with her chin being pinched, in public was making her feel a little uncomfortable. Dean, you? Suddenly, a clear voice, tinged with doubt, rang out. Liu Erlong, whose chin was being lifted by Yichu, trembled, her ears turning bright red. Jiangsu. Liu Erlong was about to break free from Yichu's embrace, but then stopped, pursing her lips, her face flushed, and continued to cling to Yichu's arm. She turned her head to look at the students who recognized her. Jiangsu? Hearing this somewhat familiar name, Yichu couldn't help but turn around and look at her. Shoulder-length pink short hair, light purple eyes, delicate features, tall figure, she looked like a well-behaved girl, a caring older sister. Even in the uniform, she was still quite pleasing to the eye. Dean, you? Jiangsu also couldn't believe her eyes. She thought she had mistaken someone for someone else, but it really was Dean Erlong. The woman, privately known as the Mother Tyrant, was now nestled in the arms of a young man, allowing him to grope her as if she were enjoying it. Jiangsu glanced at Yichu and froze for a moment. Yichu nodded at her, a warm smile on his face. Jiangsu's face flushed instantly, her eyes darting around as she lowered her head. Jiangsu, this is my husband. Liu Erlong's face was burning red, the last two words almost burning her tongue, making it difficult for Yichu to hear her clearly. Jiangsu stared at Liu Erlong in shock. Yichu extended his hand and introduced, "Hello, I'm Yichu. Hello, I'm Jiangsu." Jiangsu hadn't recovered from her shock when she instinctively reached out and shook hands with Yichu. Touching his skin, which was even more delicate than her own, and feeling the warmth of his palm, Jiangsu's face turned even redder. As if electrocuted, she quickly withdrew her hand, covering her chest, unable to look directly at him. Noticing this, Liu Erlong, who had been quite embarrassed, immediately glared at Yichu resentfully. Jiangsu, you should go to class. I know. Goodbye, Dean. Jiangsu stammered, bowed slightly, and ran out, covering her face. Jiangsu, that's Dean Erlong's husband. How could you have such thoughts? As she ran, she was tormented by her conscience, yet she couldn't help thinking about him. Husband Liu Erlong looked at Jiangsu's retreating figure and immediately rolled her eyes at Yichu. Yichu shrugged helplessly, he hadn't done anything. Let's not wander around anymore, otherwise the girls in the academy won't be able to concentrate on their classes. Let's go, okay? Yichu didn't insist any further. With that brief pause, quite a few students had already noticed them. Blue Tyrant Academy, comparable to Heavenly Douluo Royal Academy, boasts mountains and water, though much smaller in size. The academy is similarly semi-enclosed by a forest. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Liu Erlong pulled Yichu into the forest. Seeing them enter, the students who had watched them go wild. Holy crap! Really? That woman is actually the dean, good heavens! What's that pretty boy's skill? He even subdued a female tyrannosaurus. Unlike the male students' attention, most of the female students were simply admiring Yichu's face. They walked along a long pebble path, flanked by various flowers and plants that Yichu didn't recognize. Liu Erlong's residence was quite elegant, with a serene and fragrant atmosphere. Huge flowering trees and a unique little house stood side by side, a simple bridge complemented by a babbling brook. Outside the wooden house was a circle of flower beds, surrounded by the sound of flowing springs and the fragrance of flowers, creating a harmonious scene. Husband, sit here for a while. I'll take a shower first, then I'll make you some breakfast, okay? As soon as they arrived, Liu Erlong eagerly pulled Yichu to sit down, wanting to clean herself up. Although she had wiped herself before, some traces were inevitably left, after all, so many times over such a long period, and besides, she hadn't had a proper shower for several days. After receiving his response, she was about to walk into the bathroom when she suddenly stopped, as if she had changed her mind. She clenched her fists and looked at Yichu, hesitant to speak. "What's wrong, Erlong?" Yichu looked at her curiously. Liu Erlong suddenly sat on Yichu's lap, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Husband, why don't we go together, huh?" Yichu's eyes widened, his face full of astonishment. His heart pounded, and he couldn't help but swallow hard. "Carry me," and Liu Erlong blushed, already noticing Yichu's unusual behavior. She went limp in Yichu's arms, her body heat rising, and she gently nibbled at his earlobe. Her soft hand slowly caressed Yichu's chest, her hot breath making his heart surge. Husband, seeing that he didn't move for a long time, Liu Erlong continued to entice him, already biting Yichu's button. Yichu finally responded in a deep voice, his voice a little heavy, as he held the plump, soft body in his arms and walked towards the bathroom. People are always curious, and Yichu also wanted to try something different, like attaching a soul bone to an external body. Morning had passed, the sun was high in the sky, and the water in the pool under the small bridge outside the wooden house was exceptionally hot, with exceptionally large waves. From the surrounding grove, a few soft chirps lingered, melodious and pleasant. Yichu sat at the table in the middle of the courtyard, quietly listening to the sounds of nature around him. At this time, he had finished bathing. He had changed into a silver-threaded, white-based outfit, giving him a fresh and elegant look without being extravagant. His blue hair swayed slightly, his eyes were like the deep ocean, and a faint smile played on his lips. Compared to his previous bath in dragon blood, this time he had only taken a hot bath, yet he felt no soreness. On the contrary, his face looked relaxed, as if he had won a battle, his refreshed appearance adding to his handsome and noble air. Sipping the fragrant tea personally brewed by Liu Erlong, Yichu finally had some free time to observe Liu Erlong's residence. The wooden house, though small, was fully equipped. Yichu was sitting at a table in the outer courtyard, with a small living room behind him and a master bedroom inside. To his left and right were the bathroom and kitchen, respectively. The front was occupied by flower beds, forming a small courtyard in the center. Not long after, Liu Erlong emerged from the kitchen, carrying a tray with 2 bowls of fragrant noodles, a few green leaves still visible on top. At this moment, Liu Erlong's face was radiant, her features exquisite, and her skin smooth and lustrous, like milk. Her long, straight black hair was still slightly damp, cascading down her back. She had already changed out of the tight-fitting clothes she wore when she went out. Instead, Yichu had personally helped her into a light blue loungewear dress. Light and comfortable, it subtly revealed her slender arms and long, shapely legs, revealing glimpses of white skin with each step. The dress accentuated her ample bosom, its peaks and valleys displaying boundless allure. Her hips, below the waist, seemed like a masterpiece of nature, possessing both the roundness of a young girl and the charm of a mature woman. Compared to when he first saw her, her mature and sensual charm had grown stronger and more captivating, like that of a noble woman. This charm was something no ordinary young girl could achieve. "Husband, try it quickly." Liu Erlong walked over gracefully and sat down close to Yichu, her face radiant with beauty. Every time she looked at Yichu, her eyes sparkled. Yichu felt her leaning against him, her body slightly weak, and rolled his eyes helplessly. She couldn't stay in the hot spring for so long without even saying so. If he hadn't noticed something was wrong with her, she would have fainted. Yichu put one arm around her shapely waist, which was both voluptuous and slender, and took the noodles she brought him. He said softly, "Remember to remind me earlier next time." I know." Husband Liu Erlong blushed, her legs together, her face flushed. She wanted to, but back then she was too powerless, she was just too carried away. Fortunately, now she was far ahead of that woman, Bibi Dong. Soon, breakfast was finished in Liu Erlong's company. Liu Erlong then pulled Yichu into her bedroom, where they rested together for a while. She leaned against him, letting him do as he pleased. Yichu didn't indulge in the woman's advances too much and quickly withdrew, wanting to return to Shrek Academy. "Erlong, do you want to come with me?" Yichu asked softly, looking at Liu Erlong as she tidied his clothes. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230. Just spoil him. Liu Erlong paused, her pretty face flushing red at the thought of competing with those children for her affections, even being gossiped about behind her back. She gently shook her head. No, you go see them yourself, alright. We'll have a chance to meet when they come to Xiandao City later. Yichu didn't force her, and was about to reach out and pinch her hand when she grabbed it. Liu Erlong rolled her eyes at him, took Yichu's hand, and wiped it on her body to dry it. Haha, Yichu chuckled dryly, almost forgetting that his hands were covered in oil from wiping them earlier. By the way, you should absorb this bone from a 50,000-year-old giant horned rhinoceros, Yichu said, taking out the soul bone and handing it to Liu Erlong. No need, I already have this thunder flame, alright. I don't need it myself. Although the age is a bit low, you're being inexplicably targeted now, so you still need to improve your strength as soon as possible. Yichu didn't give her a chance to refuse, directly pushing her to her soft spot and stuffing her into her arms. Being targeted by those evil soul masters, she needed sufficient strength to protect herself. If it weren't for the fact that Yichu's few fire attribute soul bones were of such low age, he would have wanted her to absorb them all. Although those evil soul masters were unlikely to attack directly within Heavendao City, it was better to be prepared. Low age. Liu Erlang gave Yichu a strange look. Did this guy know how rare soul bones were? Some titled Douluo didn't even have a single 10,000-year soul bone. Thinking this, she didn't refuse further. She knew Yichu was telling the truth and didn't want him to worry too much, so she nodded slightly. Yes, I understand, alright, then I'll be going now. Yichu took a small sip, tasting a hint of sweetness. Husband, you must remember to come see me every day. Liu Erlong gently bit Yichu's neck, leaving a red berry. Don't worry, I remember everything I promised you. See you tomorrow, okay, see you tomorrow. Liu Erlong's red lips curled slightly. Actually, she wanted Yichu to come every night, so she wouldn't have to shamelessly drag him around during the day. Yichu gently pushed her ample bosom away. Then he slowly walked out into the courtyard surrounded by the wooden houses. He breathed in the fresh forest air, feeling refreshed. Yichu couldn't help but sigh at Liu Erlong's charm. It was simply irresistible. She was like a slightly chubby little tank. Whoever drove her was happy. After sighing, he couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. He didn't know how to explain it to Rongrong and the other two girls. If Xiao Wu spoiled her one more time, everything would be fine. Zhu Zhuking might have some complaints but wouldn't say them, so that was also manageable. The most difficult one to deal with was Ning Rongrong. She was queuing nicely when someone suddenly cut in line, and she would definitely get angry. But isn't that what makes the girls so adorable? Different personalities bring Yichu different kinds of fun. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. A blood-red light flashed in his eyes, and his figure swept away, disappearing from the spot. Inside the room, Liu Erlong watched Yichu's figure disappear, her face turning bright red. She rolled around on the bed happily, wrapped in the quilt, smelling the scent Yichu left behind, slowly wriggling, her body gradually trembling. She exhaled a breath of hot air, a hint of happiness flashing in Liu Erlong's eyes, and the corners of her mouth turned up slightly. Looks like I have to go find Yuhu tonight. I wonder what's wrong with that woman. Shrek Academy. There was still some time before noon. Tang Sen, Daimyu Bei, and the others were still completing the long, heavy-duty map-running task under Yu Xiaogang's guidance. Xiao Wu and the other two girls were staying in their dormitory. Flander and the others had come to invite them to join the training team. Under Zhu Zhuking's curiosity, they did go to take a look. After seeing it, they completely lost interest. Just as Yichu and Xiao Wu had predicted, they were constantly running, carrying stones on their backs. Upon seeing this, Ning Rongrong shook her head vigorously, even faster than when she played with Yichu. So, the three girls simply asked for a long leave. To ensure the leave went smoothly, Ning Rongrong revealed her cultivation level, claiming it was due to rare and precious materials prepared by her family. Only Oscar knew the truth, but he didn't reveal it. Flander, though helpless, couldn't persuade them otherwise. After all, he couldn't push these geniuses too hard. Otherwise, if they really ran away, his academy would be finished. Yu Xiaogang, though forceful, dared not say anything more after nearly being thrown to the ground by Xiao Wu. Therefore, the three of them were free. The Shrek Seven Devils remained outwardly united but inwardly divided. During this time, Ning Rongrong also spoke with Oscar, asking him to recruit the food-type soul Saint Xiaozin to join the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School. Oscar nodded in agreement, quite confident. Meanwhile, in the room, Ningrongrong and Xiao Wu were listlessly playing cards, while Zhu Zhuking sat cross-legged on the bed, diligently cultivating. Xiao Wu, what on earth is Yichu doing? I'm so bored. Ningrongrong threw down her cards and rolled around on the bed. Rongrong, you've thought about Xiao Chu so many times today. If you keep cheating, I won't play with you anymore, Xiao Wu pouted, annoyed at Ningrongrong's renewed cheating. Haha, Ningrongrong laughed, clutching her budding chest, as Xiao Wu finally realized what was happening. HMPH, Xiao Wu snorted, her face falling, and put the cards away in her soul tool. She seemed to cherish everything Yichu made. Sorry, Xiao Wu. Ningrongrong rolled over to Xiao Wu's side, leaning against her thigh, and stuck out her tongue. Turning around, she hugged Xiao Wu's waist and whispered, but I really miss him, don't you? How could I? Xiao Chu has been gone for several days, and Sister Xiao Wu misses him too. Xiao Wu seemed to have seized the opportunity for revenge, pinching Ningrongrong's face and rubbing it repeatedly. AWW. Xiao Wu. Ningrongrong pretended to bite her, glaring at her. What if you pinch her face too big? Speaking of which, Zhu Qing hasn't been out much these past few days. Xiao Wu looked at Zhu Qing, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed. It must be that scumbag tiger, bothering Zhu Qing again. Ningrongrong was indignant. If she weren't just a support-type soul master, she would have wanted to beat up Daimyo Bei. Speaking of which, Xiao Wu, is that Tang San not afraid of being beaten? Just like that scumbag tiger, he's like a leech. How should I know? Xiao Wu rolled her eyes helplessly, at the entrance of the three girls' dormitory. Yichu had already appeared there for a while. He just raised his hand, but then hesitated. He still hadn't figured out how to explain it to them. If he directly said he would go back to the past, they would probably think he was just making up a lame excuse to fob them off. It was a lose-lose situation. After much hesitation, Yichu knocked on the door. Knock knock. Who is it? Xiao Wu's voice, sweet yet arrogant, came through. I'm back, Yichu said softly. Ah. It's Xiao Chu. Xiao Chu is back. Click. Two joyful voices came from inside, and the door opened from the inside. Then a figure darted out. PFFT cough cough. Yichu was hit hard, almost losing his balance. Xiao Chu. Pop. Xiao Wu's voice rang in his ears, and raindrops suddenly splashed onto his face, making him wet. Ah. Xiao Wu, you're so mean. By the door, Ningrongrong angrily pulled at Xiao Wu's delicate feet, trying to drag her down. Why did this rabbit jump off the bed and onto Yichu the moment he opened the door? Alright, wrong, stop fooling around. Don't hurt Xiao Wu, Yichu said with a wry smile, his voice muffled. Xiao Wu was positioned between Yichu and Ningrongrong holding her delicate feet, while Xiao Wu wrapped her arms around his neck. They had practically dragged him inside. He hadn't even noticed the several bags of wilted carrots by the door. I wasn't fooling around. Humph, Ningrongrong retorted unhappily, but obediently put Xiao Wu's feet down. Xiao Chu freed from her clutches. Xiao Wu boldly wrapped her arms around Yichu, nibbling at him haphazardly. Snap. Yichu, supporting her shapely buttocks, closed the door and walked to the bed. As soon as he sat down, Ningrongrong eagerly squeezed in, one on each side, sitting on Yichu's lap, leaning against his shoulder. They only stopped when Yichu's face was completely dry. Have you kissed enough? Yichu rolled his eyes helplessly at the two women who couldn't help but laugh, and used his divine power to throw them onto the bed. He went to the bathroom, washed his face, and felt a little better. When he came out, Zhu Zhuking had already finished her cultivation. She looked at him with longing in her eyes and threw herself into his arms. Compared to Rongrong and the other two women, Zhu Zhuking was much more docile. Yichu held the soft jade in his arms and gently carried her to the bedside. He didn't let go of her, but held her waist tightly with both arms. It would be much safer and more comfortable to talk to her later than to hold the other two women. Zhu Zhuking leaned against Yichu's chest, too shy to look up, or perhaps she didn't want to. But then she suddenly frowned. She sensed something unusual. She glanced strangely at Ningrongrong and Xiao Wu, and dismissed the two women. Yichu, what have you been up to these past few days? Ningrongrong pouted, jumped onto Zhu Zhuking's bed, and looked at him curiously. Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuking also stared at him expectantly. Yichu hesitated for a moment, then decided to keep it brief. I went to the starred-out Great Forest and encountered an evil soul master who was trying to assassinate Zhu King, and then I saved a woman. Zhu King suddenly realized what he meant. But Yichu's next words froze her expression. Senior Douluo saved us, and then Erlong and I had some indescribable things happen. Ningrongrong and the other girls stared blankly at Yichu. Yichu was also on edge, quietly watching them. Zhu King remained calm, but the hand she placed on Yichu's chest tightened noticeably. Xiao Wu looked shocked and resentful, while Ningrongrong's face turned red with anger. Suddenly, she screamed. Yichu? You've found another woman? You really need one? I'm always here for you. Ningrongrong angrily grabbed Yichu by the collar, offering him her own flesh, but he refused. He insisted on going to great lengths to find one himself. It's infuriating. All that practice on how to please him was for nothing. Tears welled in her eyes. Yet, Xiao Chu, we can both. Xiao Wu also looked at him resentfully, her cheeks puffed out, clearly unhappy. Zhu King glared at Yichu, quickly stood up, and gave her seat to Ningrongrong, watching quietly from the side. It's that Douluo again. He's really too much? I'll definitely have Grandpa Jian and the others teach him a lesson. Ningrongrong gritted her teeth, viciously grabbing Yichu's neck. Cough cough, wrong, there's a reason for this. We can't entirely blame Senior Douluo. Yichu scratched his head sheepishly. What? You mean, you didn't do it willingly? Ningrongrong pinned Yichu to the bed, sat on his chest, and punched his shoulders twice. You bastard! Tears welled up in his eyes as he spoke. He had only been at her house proposing marriage for a short while, and he was already sleeping with another woman. This, before Yichu could finish speaking, seeing his hesitation, Ningrongrong couldn't take it anymore. I'll bite you to death. Ningrongrong gritted her teeth and lowered her head to bite him. Wrong. Xiao Wu saw the pain flash across Yichu's face and grabbed Ningrongrong's arm. It wasn't until she tasted something metallic in her mouth that she came to her senses. Drops of blood seeped through his clothes, and drops of tears fell onto Yichu's wound. You stinky thing, you've only been gone a few days. And you've already ruined another one. I'm sorry. Yichu gently patted Ningrongrong's back, his eyes also looking at Xiao Wu and Zhu King, a hint of apology in them. HMPH. It's always like this. Ningrongrong kept hitting Yichu's chest, letting him wipe away her tears. Xiao Chu, you should hurry up and treat her injury. A hint of heartache flashed in Xiao Wu's eyes as she pulled open her collar, revealing 2 rows of teeth marks on her shoulder. Yet, hurry up and treat it, don't get my bed dirty. Seeing that Yichu wanted to refuse, Zhu King also rolled her eyes at him. What they needed wasn't this kind of apology. Yichu chuckled dryly, glancing at Ningrongrong, only to see her give him a cold look before leaning down again. Thinking she was going to bite him again, his body tensed up. Suddenly, a slightly wet, slippery sensation washed over him. Ningrongrong was actually slowly cleaning Yichu's blood, circling around and slowly sucking it dry. Hurry up and heal him. After a while, she slowly raised her head, her eyes red as she glared at Yichu. Thank you, wrong, Yichu said softly, then activated the first soul skill of the Blue Silver Emperor, Endless Life, to heal his wounds. If you keep going like this, Xiao Wu and the others will tie you up and imprison you, so you can just stay with the 3 of us, Ningrongrong cried, her eyes brimming with tears, still sobbing. Her words sent chills down Yichu's spine. This was no laughing matter. Zhu King also looked at Ningrongrong with surprise, then at Yichu, considering the feasibility of this method. Xiao Wu, who wasn't very bright, suddenly lit up, her eyes flashing with eagerness. Seeing this, Yichu's expression became somewhat flustered. Wrong, you're not serious, are you? Seeing the panic in Yichu's eyes, Ningrongrong paused, her eyes darting around, and pinched Yichu's cheek. If you dare to flirt like this again, I'll really do it. Listen to my explanation. Yichu smiled wryly, not caring whether they believe him or not. For the sake of having fun in the future without having to live in fear of being stabbed every day, he still felt it was better to tell them the truth. Okay. Then I'll listen to your explanation. If your explanation doesn't satisfy us, HMPH, Ningrongrong looked at Yichu, who seemed to have something difficult to say, her curiosity piqued. She continued to sit on Yichu, pressing down on him, and slowly said. Xiao Wu and Zhu King also lay down on either side of Yichu, the 3 women looking down at him from above. Xiao Chu, don't lie. Sister Xiao Wu can tell. Xiao Wu poked Yichu's cheek, looking at him with a smile. Yichu, no matter what, I will never leave you, Zhu Zhuking said softly. Her face flushed, and lightly pecked Yichu's lips. Seeing the three women's stance, Yichu's heart suddenly raced. Their words were bewitching him. I definitely won't lie to you, that's for the best. Seeing Yichu's somewhat frightened expression, Ning Rongrong couldn't suppress a smug smile. Do you believe in time travel, huh? The three women were confused by Yichu's words. Yichu clarified again, what I mean is, do you believe someone can go back to the past? Oh, you. Yichu, do you think we're stupid enough to be fooled by you? Ning Rongrong frowned, then sat on Yichu's chest again, pulling him down slightly. This made it difficult for Yichu to breathe. I'm telling the truth, Rongrong, Yichu said with difficulty, clinging to Ning Rongrong's waist. I have an example, a living example. Yichu suddenly remembered something, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Seeing that Yichu didn't seem to be faking it, Xiao Wu and the other two girls exchanged glances, then looked at Yichu. Xiao Chu, the example you're talking about isn't yourself, is it? Of course not, Yichu shook his head. He only had a vague understanding of what happened when he returned to the past, and using himself wouldn't be convincing. Then who is it? Is it that Liu Erlong's sister? Zhu Zhuking also looked at Yichu strangely. But after she finished speaking, Ning Rongrong and Xiao Wu were caught off guard. They looked at her with resentment. Zhuking, you just spoil him, Ning Rongrong pouted, feeling like she was being made to play the bad guy. Yichu also glanced at Zhu Zhuking, who was a little shy and concerned. The example I mentioned is actually someone you know too. Coming back to his senses, Yichu said seriously. We know each other too. Ning Rongrong was very surprised, quickly focusing on Shrek Academy. This was the only place all three women were equally familiar with. A look of realization flashed in her eyes, but before she could speak, Xiao Wu interrupted. Xiao Chu, you mean Tang San? She had long felt that Tang San was very abnormal. That's right, it's Tang San, Yichu nodded. Weren't you wondering where his hidden weapons and martial arts techniques came from? These are all products of another world called the Tang sect. Tang San was a disciple of the Tang sect, but he stole something, was discovered and chased, and then jumped off a cliff. No wonder that Tang San was so mature, so that's how it is, Zhu Zhuking murmured, finally clearing up her doubts. This is too far-fetched, Ning Rongrong stared at Yichu, unable to recover for a long time. Then she frowned. So, you mean you'll go back to the past, and that Liu Erlong is actually a debt of love you incurred in the past? It's hard to believe, but it's true, Yichu nodded quickly. Yichu, you're really amazing. Zhu Zhuking looked at Yichu, and couldn't help but reach out and touch his cheek, somewhat amazed. Xiao Wu also looked at Yichu with shining eyes. Even if it's true, how do we know if you're making it up? Do you use this as an excuse every time you have another woman? Ning Rongrong was a little persistent, staring intently at Yichu. How could I possibly make it up? I can swear, no need. I believe you. Just as Yichu was about to raise his hand, Ning Rongrong suddenly leaned over Yichu and hugged him tightly. Really, you're not trying to lower my guard so you can imprison me, are you? PFFT, haha, how could I possibly imprison you? I was just saying that out of anger. Ning Rongrong couldn't help but laugh at Yichu's somewhat frightened expression. Zhu Zhuking, however, was puzzled as to why Yichu was so afraid of this thing. Then, Ning Rongrong gently leaned close to Yichu's ear and whispered softly, even if you really are lying to me, I won't do it. Yes, yes. Me too, Xiao Wu nodded quickly from the side. Xiao Wu, you didn't seem to be thinking that way just now, did you? Zhu Zhuking rolled her eyes and gave her a disapproving look. Who said that? I was thinking about how to rescue Xiao Chu. Xiao Wu stuck out her tongue. She wouldn't hurt Xiao Chu. Yichu breathed a sigh of relief as he watched the three women regain their composure. Wrong, it's time to get up. You've been sitting for so long. Seeing that things were settled, Xiao Wu couldn't wait for Ning Rongrong to let go of Yichu. Ning Rongrong pouted, realizing that after making him play the bad guy, she was going to discard him like a used tool. Yichu, actually, I'm angry this time not just because you have another woman, HMPH. Who told you to refuse what's in front of you and insist on having someone outside, especially after the marriage proposal? Ning Rongrong got up, helping Yichu straighten his disheveled clothes, and said resentfully. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Yichu smiled bitterly, He hadn't expected to confess so quickly. He really hadn't expected Liu Erlong to act so fast. And Douluo had also joined in the fun. Alright. You're getting more and more shameless, getting the benefit and still acting innocent. Ning Rongrong rolled her eyes at him, sat back in his lap, and hugged him tightly. Yichu, I don't care if what you say is true or false, or how many women you have, but you have to remember what you promised me. You're not allowed to be biased. Even if you are, it can only be towards me. Wrong, isn't it a bit inappropriate for you to say that in front of me and Xiao Wu? That's right. Why should I be biased towards you, HMPH? Anyway, you can't bully me. Ning Rongrong snorted coldly at the two women. Speaking of which, Yichu raised his hand sullenly, feeling that the women's focus was somewhat off. Xiao Chu, what did you say? Xiao Wu looked at him strangely. Speaking of which, aren't you all going to refute what Rongrong said earlier? Then can I find more, Yichu? Go to hell. Before Yichu could finish speaking, Ning Rongrong reacted and bit Yichu's face. Ah. Rongrong, be gentle. Xiao Wu, Zhu Qing. You two, Zhu Huqing and Xiao Wu exchanged a glance, each taking one of Yichu's shoulders and biting down hard. It took a while for Yichu to escape their bites. Don't even think about it. Our house isn't a place just anyone can walk through. Ning Rongrong, knowing her limits, didn't want Yichu's face to turn red, and gently wiped away the saliva. That's right. Don't even think about it. Only someone we both agree on can you bring back. Xiao Chu, Xiao Wu, baring her teeth and nodding repeatedly, chimed in. That Meng Yiren from before was pretty good. Zhu Huqing's words were even more direct. She hadn't lied to Meng Yiren. Before and after meeting Meng Yiren, the three girls had already gained some understanding of Yichu's womanizing ways and had strategies for dealing with it. That was to ensure harmony while observing whether the other woman truly couldn't live without Yichu, whether this bastard Yichu had even developed feelings, and so on. Yichu stared blankly at the three girls, suddenly wondering if he had demonized them in his mind. Were they already making choices for him? Thinking of this, Yichu swallowed back his plan to take the initiative and win over Jin Ringsu. Her identity was simply too sensitive. HMPH. This time you dared to act first and then inform me later, so you're punished by sleeping alone in the dorm tonight. Ning Rongrong's eyes darted around, and she suddenly pointed towards Yichu's dorm. A fleeting, almost imperceptible cunning flashed in her eyes. Yichu was stunned and didn't speak. What? Is something wrong again? Ning Rongrong looked at Yichu strangely. Yes, I still have to go to the Crown Prince's residence tonight. Yichu nodded, wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 231 You Go Die. I really don't know what you've been busy with. Ning Rongrong glared at him resentfully. Her little scheme of a night raid had failed before it even began. Wrong, you're not thinking of stealing food again, are you? Xiao Wu noticed the unusual disappointment in Ning Rongrong's eyes and suddenly realized something. Ning Rongrong had taken quite a few of her carrots lately, and she understood what Ning Rongrong was up to. Zhu Huqing also suddenly realized, blushing and looking at Ning Rongrong with some disgust. I didn't mean that. I just wanted to punish him, Ning Rongrong retorted, blushing and sticking her neck out. She pushed away Yichu's mischievous face. What are you looking at? Believe me or I'll bite you to death. Alright, stop fooling around. I'll take you to lunch. Should we go to Xiandao City or Soto City? Yichu held the squirming Ning Rongrong in his arms and turned to look at Xiao Wu and Zhu Huqing. Xiao Chu, let's go to Xiandao City, okay? Yichu nodded, his divine power activated, and the group disappeared from the room. The sky gradually darkened. Yichu brought the girls back to Soto City from the Lake of Life and had dinner with them. After repeatedly promising them that he would keep himself pure, he bid them farewell and went to the secret chamber of the Crown Prince's residence. In the dimly lit chamber, Yichu sat quietly alone at the table, waiting for Jin Ringsu's arrival. Half an hour later, Jin Ringsu's footsteps echoed in the long secret passage. A golden figure appeared in Yichu's sight, shimmering with golden light. Golden hair and golden eyes, holy and unapproachable. Upon seeing Yichu, Jin Ringsu's eyes lit up at first, then turned cold. Why are you looking at me like that? Yichu looked at her strangely, as he didn't seem to have provoked her. Jin Ringsu moved her stool next to Yichu, sitting close to him. Turning her head slightly, she teased, didn't you say you were going to the Starred-Out Great Forest? I heard you were still playing around with those women. Don't slander me, I really did go to the Starred-Out Great Forest. Yi Chu took her hand that was pinching his cheek, gently kneading it, slowly testing her limits. Jin Ringsu blushed slightly, but pulled her hand back, coldly laughing. Really? But the information I received was that you spent the morning with young women and then went to spend the afternoon with young girls. You're so busy, and your teeth are so sharp. Where would you find the extra energy to go to the starred-out Great Forest? Because of the assassination attempt and the impending avalanche, Jin Ringsu had placed more spies in Yondao City, so Yi Chu's every move in Yondao City couldn't escape her eyes. Look into my eyes, Yi Chu didn't explain, directly activating his Sharingan, turning to look at Jin Ringsu as he spoke. What? Don't even think about it. Jin Ringsu quickly closed her eyes and lowered her head. What are you thinking? I'm just using illusion to give you a proper replay of what happened. Yi Chu directly grabbed her shoulder. You? With just one glance, the unsuspecting Jin Ringsu fell into the illusion, her face turning a rosy pink, even blood red. In a few breaths, Yi Chu deactivated his Sharingan. How about that? I didn't lie to you, did I? You shameless. Jin Ringsu shoved Yi Chu hard, stood up abruptly, her face filled with shame and indignation. You actually made me watch that kind of thing, you bastard. Believe me or not, I'll kill you right now. What thing? Aren't they all battle scenes? Hell, yes, all battle scenes. Your battle with that woman was quite a steamy spectacle, Jin Ringsu said through gritted teeth, her ears practically dripping with lust. I just wanted to explain the Erlong matter to you, Yi Chu chuckled awkwardly. His ingratiating expression startled Jin Ringsu. A surge of joy rose in her heart, but her eyes betrayed a hint of panic. Then, she gritted her teeth and glared at him. Why explain this to me, even if I had to explain? It's no reason for you to show me this filthy stuff. You can die. With that, Jin Ringsu activated her martial soul, and the sacred sword appeared in her hand. Whoosh! Bang! A flash of sword light, and the stone table shattered once more. On the ground of Xiandao City, a crescent moon seemed to fall, radiating golden light. At this moment, this crescent moon hung above the main entrance of a certain building, illuminating the street. This was Yuxuan. Yuxuan was very quiet at this moment, the usual melodious zither music had vanished. In the room of Tang Yuhua, the master of the pavilion, a pair of beautiful women sat facing the window where moonlight streamed in. One of them was Liu Erlong, dressed in black with black hair, her skin moisturized and radiant. Sitting opposite her was Tang Yuhua, the mistress of Yuxuan. Her long, light blue hair was styled in a bun, adorned with touches of gold, and long bangs framing her face. Her eyes were deep and gentle, like a lake, and her skin was as delicate as snow and as smooth as silk. Under the moonlight, her skin had a slightly yellowish tint, like the translucence of amber. She wore a silver palace dress, her curves graceful, her figure petite yet perfectly proportioned, every part of her alluring. Yet, the elegant and noble aura she exuded made it impossible to harbor any impure thoughts. Sister Erlong, congratulations on regaining your memories. Tang Yuhua's voice was soft as she rolled up her sleeves and poured Liu Erlong a cup of tea. Yuhua, I've not only regained my memories. I've completely surrendered myself. Liu Erlong hugged herself, her face flushed, as if she had returned to her moment of glory. Sister Erlong, aren't you being too hasty? She doesn't even have her previous memories yet. Tang Yuhu looked at her with some surprise. At the same time, her doubts were resolved. No wonder Liu Erlong was so radiant today. It was because of a happy occasion, like rain after a long drought. So what? Gulp. Liu Erlong picked up her cup, took a small sip, then touched her red lips, a cold and smug smile appearing on her face. Anyway, I've made up my mind about him and left that woman far behind. A burning fire blazed in Liu Erlong's eyes. Just thinking about Yi Chu's gentleness and strength was intoxicating. She drank tea, but her face was slightly flushed. She had more to do than just this. If she worked hard enough, she would eventually win the lottery, and then, HMPH. Looking at Liu Erlong's face, which shifted between shyness and smugness, Tang Yuhu also smiled bitterly. Does Sister Erlong still hate Sister Danger? HMPH. Of course. Why should she steal my memories? I didn't do anything wrong. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 232. Heading to Moon Pavilion. Liu Erlong's face was filled with indignation, and she looked at Tang Yuhu with some doubt. Speaking of which, what is that woman doing now? Has she really gone mad? Tang Yuhu chuckled and shook her head. Sister Dong is certainly not mad, but I don't know exactly what she's doing. I only occasionally get some news about her. HMPH. I hope nothing happens to her, otherwise I won't be able to get my revenge, Liu Erlong snorted, not wanting Yichu to be sad because of Bibi Dong. You can rest assured about that, Sister Dong is very strong. Tang Yuhu's eyes also showed confidence, which was her admiration for Bibi Dong. Liu Erlong deeply agreed, after all, she had always been easily controlled by her. The two chatted for a while about the evil soul masters. The night gradually deepened. Liu Erlong also said goodbye. Alright, Yuhua, thank you for taking care of me all these years. I should go back now, Liu Erlong yawned. She had taken a long shower together this morning and almost fainted. She was exhausted. She needed a good night's sleep to ensure she was ready for tomorrow. Tang Yuhua, seeing her flushed face, seemed to sense her thoughts and her face also turned red. Sister Erlong, you should also be careful not to tire him out. I won't. I almost passed out, Liu Erlong stammered, her face bloodshot. Tang Yuhua opened her red lips in surprise, unusually flustered. A blush spread across her face. So he was already this strong at this time. Tang Yuhua clutched her pounding heart. By the way, Yuhua, he should be coming to see you in a few days. Then, you decide what to do. After saying that, Liu Erlong got up and walked outside. Will you come to see me? Tang Yuhua murmured softly, looking at the cup in her hand, which seemed to contain a pool of golden moonlight. A hint of reminiscence appeared in her eyes, followed by a wistful smile that obscured the moon's brilliance. After all these years, are we finally going to meet again? As dawn broke, a faint purple aura appeared where the sun rose. In the secret chamber of the Crown Prince's residence, the table in the center was shattered into pieces. After some minor incidents, Yichu and Jinringsu had already gone to bed. The two embraced each other face to face, the entire secret chamber shimmering with golden red light. They remained like this all night, holding each other tightly. Their noses touched, and Jinringsu sat cross-legged on Yichu's lap. Their cultivation had returned to its most intimate form. Yichu no longer guarded his mind, and Jinringsu could only glimpse the subtle emotions in Yichu's expression, her lips never leaving his lips all night. Gradually, the light in the secret chamber dimmed. Urged by Yichu, Jinringsu obediently ended her cultivation for the evening. Opening their eyes, the two looked at each other. The day's plan begins in the morning, just as the yang energy was rising. Yichu, caught on the trap of gentleness, felt a little embarrassed, while Jinringsu, sensing the warmth, blushed deeply. Help me, Jinringsu glared at Yichu, trying to get up by hugging his neck, but she couldn't muster the strength. This only fueled Yichu's desire. I know, Yichu chuckled softly, his arms around her waist tightening slightly as he pulled her close, lifting her up with a slight bend. Then he gently lowered her soft body, letting her sit back on the bed. Jinringsu, head bowed, bit her red lips shyly, giving Yichu, who couldn't stand upright, a captivating smile. Was this a bit too early to end it? Jinringsu said softly. It's not too early, I need to go back and wake Rongrong and the others up to cultivate. Yichu also sat down again, calming his restless heart. Jinringsu frowned slightly. Yichu, I already told you before, don't mention them in front of me. I haven't even settled accounts with you for what happened last night. Alright, I'll be careful. Yichu didn't take it to heart, but still nodded slightly. He deliberately brought up Rongrong and the others, using this method to gradually let Jinringsu get used to their presence. Keep an eye on those evil soul masters. I have a feeling they won't stay still for long. HMPH. They're already restless. That piece of trash Zubang actually dared to oppose me. A sharp killing intent flashed in Jinringsu's eyes. I warned you before, Yichu shrugged, somewhat helplessly. Alright, I should go. Wait, Jinringsu suddenly called out to Yichu. What? Is there something else? Yichu turned around and looked at her strangely. Jinringsu smiled faintly, bringing her face close to Yichu's, quietly looking at her, her breath sweet as orchids. Remember, within 3 days, you must come here at least once. Pop? Before she could finish speaking, Yichu leaned forward, capturing her slightly upturned red lips with his own, gently biting them before quickly releasing them. Don't worry, I remember, Yichu. You bastard. Yichu finished speaking and disappeared from Jinringsu's sight. He was completely unaware of her angry outburst. Jinringsu almost bit her cherry lips until they bled, her face flushed, her breathing rapid. While her face was full of anger, a hint of happiness rose in her heart. Somewhat contradictory. Shrek Academy. Yichu's figure appeared directly in the three girls' dormitory. Ningrongrong and Xiao Wu were still washing up in the bathroom. Yichu Zhuking, who had gotten up the earliest, had already finished getting ready and was about to change out of her pajamas. Suddenly seeing Yichu, she froze as she took off her robe. Her two slender arms didn't know where to go, and no matter what she did, she couldn't hide a bottomless abyss. Why are you so shy? You're not naked, and even if you weren't, I'd already seen. Yichu paused for a moment, then chuckled and sat on the bed to avoid giving himself away. Zhuking glanced at the somewhat uncomfortable Yichu with annoyance and quickly put on her leather jacket. Xiao Wu, still in her pajamas, quickly jumped into Yichu's arms and sat down. The force made both of them groan and tremble slightly. Cough cough, Yichu coughed twice, looking at Xiao Wu's charming eyes, feeling a little overwhelmed. Xiao, help me change my clothes. Xiao Wu leaned softly against Yichu's chest. Having tasted the sweetness of love, she fully displayed her mischievous rabbit nature. Stop fooling around, you'd better hurry up and change your clothes. Before the sun rises, I'll take you to cultivate the purple demon eye. Yichu picked her up and put her aside. Yes, Xiao Wu, hurry up and change. Ningrongrong, already dressed, ran out and took Xiao Wu's place. Even more unsteady, she swayed unsteadily, making Yichu's face turn a deep purplish red. Wrong, stop fooling around. Yichu quickly pressed her down, giving her plump bottom a light slap. Yichu, there's still some time, you should get ready too, Zhuking said, bringing a towel from the bathroom and handing it to Yichu. Okay, thank you, Zhuking. Yichu smiled gently. For the next few days, Yichu lived a life of routine between 3 points, Shrek Academy, Blue Tyrant Academy, and the Crown Prince's secret chamber. Today, at Blue Tyrant Academy, Yichu, who had fought until dawn, finally decided to head to Yuxun to investigate. Have a nice day. Chapter 233 Passionate Zuke. At Lanba Academy, at Liu Erlong's residence. Yichu, who had worked all night and barely slept, slowly woke up. He felt the smooth, porcelain-like skin against his body, warm as a fireplace. Early in the morning, Yichu felt a burning desire within him. Husband, won't you rest a little longer? Liu Erlong, her face radiant with spring, stretched out her arms and hugged Yichu tightly, her face glowing like a beautiful 17 or 18-year-old girl. No, I still have to take Xiao Wu and the others to cultivate. Refreshed, Yichu gently untied her soft hand, leaned down, and lightly pecked her milky white cheek. Alright, then I'll help you get dressed. No need, you should rest well, lest you can't even walk properly. Yichu pressed her shoulders, pinching and kneading her smooth cheek. Yichu was increasingly enjoying this kind of play. Not only did it feel amazing, but watching such a strong woman change shape in his hands gave him an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. Especially during their friendly sparring sessions, Yichu could go all out and control much more than just this small area. I understand. Liu Erlong's face flushed slightly, her heart filled with shyness. She looked at Yichu with seductive eyes, tilting her head slightly to cooperate with him. Yichu released her burning cheeks and got up to tidy up. By the way, Erlong, will you come with me to Yuxun later? Liu Erlong looked at Yichu's well-defined physique, her face red as she hugged the blanket tightly. Hearing his voice, she blushed again and gently shook her head. No, you go by yourself. I haven't recovered that quickly, don't worry, Yuhu won't make things difficult for you, she reassured him, seeing the hesitation on Yichu's face. Alright, then you get some rest, I'll be going now. Yichu smiled wryly, wondering if Tang Yuhu knew what he had done to Tang Hao. With that, Yichu opened the window to let the room air out, then used his divine power to leave. Liu Erlong turned her head to look at the pebble path in the woods outside. The weather was gradually turning cooler, and the flowers and grass on both sides of the shady path were covered with white frost. Exhaling a breath of warm air, Liu Erlong gently stroked her lower abdomen, a tender look flashing across her face. She needed to work harder. Yichu's figure appeared in Ningrongrong and the other two girls' dormitory. The three girls had already tidied up. Xiao, as soon as he appeared, Xiao Wu jumped into his arms, nuzzling his ear. Yichu, were you out fooling around again? Ningrongrong approached, pouting, a little jealous. Her actions hadn't even begun yet. How is this fooling around? Yichu chuckled dryly, it was just normal married life. HMPH. Hurry up and take a proper shower, you stinky thing, Ningrongrong snorted. Xiao Chu, I'll help you, Xiao Wu, this time it's my turn. Zhu Huking blushed. She had already prepared hot water and wet a towel. Alright, Xiao Wu, hurry up and get down. Yi Chu chuckled and put the pouting Xiao Wu down. He and Zhu Huking went into the bathroom, undressed, and rubbed their backs. These were the things the three girls had agreed to do every morning. Not long after, Zhu Huking came out blushing. Then she took a set of clean clothes and handed them into the bathroom. HMPH, why is this guy taking a shower so fast? Ning Rongrong snorted. Such a short time wasn't enough for her to show off her skills that she had practiced for so long. Alright, let's go. Yi Chu smiled, water droplets still hanging on his blue hair, his bright blue eyes sparkling. He opened his arms and hugged the three girls, activating his divine power, and they appeared on a mountain peak far away from Yongdao City. Amidst the biting wind, Zhu Huking sat in Yi Chu's lap, being taken advantage of while simultaneously cultivating her purple demon eye. The two girls who had missed their turn sat beside her, Rongrong holding Xiao Wu, huddled together for warmth. Purple energy churned in the sky, transforming into wisps of silk that flowed into the eyes of the three girls. After they finished cultivating their purple demon eye and had breakfast, Yi Chu once again sent them to the Lake of Life. Inside Yongdao City, in front of an elegant 5-story building, Yi Chu glanced at the two characters' moon pavilion on the plaque, then slowly walked towards the entrance. Yi Chu was impeccably dressed, with blue hair and blue eyes, exceptionally handsome, every movement exuding nobility and elegance. Therefore, the guards at the entrance did not hinder his entry. Entering Moon Pavilion, a faint, delicate fragrance wafted towards him. In the main hall on the first floor, there were two tall, exotic orchids, from which the fragrance emanated. After only a few steps, Yi Chu felt as if he could isolate himself from the chaos of the outside world. Looking up slightly, it seemed class hadn't started yet. Several noble children leaned against the wooden railing on the second floor, gazing down at him, including many young girls with infatuated eyes. One white-haired girl, her face gleaming with surprise, abandoned the boys and girls surrounding her and, lifting her skirt, rushed downstairs. Yi Chu didn't notice her, but instead looked around. The surroundings were decorated entirely with various expensive woods. Near the entrance stood a wide table made of precious sandalwood, like a bar, where several simply dressed but elegant young women stood. This must be the reception area. Seeing Yi Chu, the girls were clearly surprised and curious, their eyes filled with admiration. Yi Chu slowly stepped forward, about to speak to the tall woman at the head of the group, when a surprised voice suddenly rang in his ears. Yi Chu? Yi Chu turned his head and saw a girl in white running towards him on an exquisitely crafted wooden staircase. Princess Zuke, Yi Chu, I told you to just call me Zuke. Zuke's action stunned everyone in the Moon Pavilion. The Empire's most noble princess was actually blushing and looking shy, clinging to a man's arm. Just who was this young man? You'd better remember, I've told you so many times. Zuke held Yi Chu's arm tightly, her soft hand squeezing his hand. Noticing Yi Chu's slight resistance, she frowned, a hint of reproach in her eyes. Although her face was flushed, this was a rare opportunity for her to get close, and she wasn't going to let go. Okay, Zuke, I'll definitely remember this time. Yi Chu chuckled dryly, hoping that there weren't any spies from Jinriksu in the Moon Pavilion. By the way, Yi Chu, what brings you to the Moon Pavilion? Zuke smiled slightly and asked curiously. I'd like to pay a visit to Master Tang, Yi Chu said softly. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 234, Meeting Tang Yuhua. To see Teacher Yuhua, Zuke was taken aback for a moment, then happily exclaimed, I can help, let's go. I'll take you there. Before Yi Chu could respond, Zuke enthusiastically took his hand and led him upstairs. Given her status, she had a good relationship with Tang Yuhua and Yuxun, considered one of Tang Yuhua's prized students. Therefore, no one dared to stop her. Thank you, Zuke, you're welcome. After you see Teacher Yuhua, I can play the harp for you. Zuke squeezed Yi Chu's hand, her face flushed, her heart filled with excitement. Yi Chu smiled but didn't reply, silently following behind her. It was better for him to behave himself for the time being. The top floor of Yuxun was Tang Yuhua's private space. No one was allowed to go up without her permission. Before them was a huge hall, decorated even more elegantly than the first floor, filled with exotic flowers and rare herbs, fragrant sandalwood, all exuding a delicate fragrance. Surrounding the hall were a ring of rooms with tightly closed doors. Yi Chu, Wait for me a moment, okay? Zuke walked gently to a room and knocked lightly on the door. Knock knock. Teacher Yuhua creak. At Zuke's call, the door opened, and a beautiful woman walked out. Her long, gray-blue hair was styled into an updo with precious hair ornaments, and her bangs swayed. She wore a silver palace dress, which was very appropriate, and she looked so elegant and natural. Even with her delicate eyebrows furrowed, she was still pleasing to the eye. Zuke, is there something you need? Zuke playfully stuck out her tongue, knowing that what she was doing was not in accordance with etiquette. Teacher Yuhua, someone wants to visit you. His name is Yichu. As she spoke, Zuke ran to Yichu's side and took his hand again. Upon hearing Yichu's name, Tang Yuhua's body trembled, and she lost her composure, her gaze falling on Yichu with some excitement. Her eyes were filled with tenderness and love. Master Tang, I am Yichu. Yichu noticed the way she looked at him, which was very similar to Liu Erlong's, only lacking the aggressiveness. Master Tang, Tang Yuhua murmured softly, then nodded slightly, her eyes glistening with tears. Zuke also noticed the awkward atmosphere, glancing at Yichu and then at Tang Yuhua. Zuke, you may go downstairs now, Tang Yuhua said softly, her gentle voice already hoarse. Yes, Zuke hesitated for a moment, then glanced at Yichu again before heading downstairs, turning back several times. Once her figure disappeared, Tang Yuhua quickly walked towards Yichu. After learning that Yichu was coming to find her, she had been mentally preparing herself every day. But when she actually saw him, she still couldn't help but get excited. She reached out to touch Yichu, but Yichu almost backed away. Tang Yuhua paused, blinked, and as tears slid down her cheeks, she said softly, "Come in with me, okay?" Yichu nodded and followed her into the elegant and cozy room. In the center of the room sat a beautiful harp, surrounded by some everyday furniture. "Come sit here." As soon as they entered, Tang Yuhua took Yichu's hand, led him to the table, and pulled him to sit down. Yichu looked at the 2 steaming cups of tea on the table, his heart filled with doubt. Had there been someone else in this room just now? Have some tea. Tang Yuhua had clearly noticed this as well, but she didn't seem to care. Pushing a cup of hot tea towards Yichu. Okay, thank you. Yichu didn't stand on ceremony, gently picking it up and taking a sip, raising an eyebrow slightly. Besides the aroma of tea, there seemed to be another flavor. Tang Yuhua didn't move, simply watching Yichu's every move, her eyes filled with memories, a look of infatuation on her face. Erlong was right, he wasn't as mature and composed as he seemed now. Being stared at like that was getting to Yichu. Master Tang, call me Yuhua, okay? Tang Yuhua looked at him steadily, smiling gently, her tone pleading. Yuhua, just that one address brought tears to Tang Yuhua's eyes again. Unlike Liu Erlong, although she longed to rush into his arms, she knew in her heart that he wasn't entirely him yet. Tang Yuhua gently wiped away her tears. Suddenly, a golden ring descended from above her head and unfolded. This domain, called the Noble Ring, calmed both Yichu and herself considerably. You seem a little afraid to see me? Is it because of Tang Hao? Just as Yichu was somewhat surprised by the wonder of her domain, Tang Yuhua smiled and asked. You know, Yichu looked at her in surprise. The name Tang Hao she mentioned didn't seem to carry any special emotion, and he wasn't even considered family. I know roughly, Tang Yuhua nodded lightly and said calmly, actually, you don't need to care about his life or death at all, and I won't care either. Why do you say that? Aren't you his sister? Yichu was puzzled. I can't say that. Tang Yuhua's voice suddenly became playful, which made Yichu feel strange. Although she looked to be only in her 20s, she had such a playful and cute demeanor, which was quite a contrast. Anyway, I don't owe those 2 brothers anything anymore. Tang Yuhua didn't seem to care. She was just trying to recapture the state she had when she was with Exiu. Second sister Erlong already told me what you wanted to know. I'm sorry. Under Yichu's surprised gaze, Tang Yuhua couldn't help herself. Before she could finish speaking, she got up and sat down next to Yichu. Mind if I lean on your shoulder for a bit? A blush crept across her face, and her soft hand gently grasped Yichu's forearm, her voice trembling. Yichu turned his head, meeting her gaze, and looking into the shimmer in her eyes, he slowly shook his head. Thank you. Tang Yuhua's lips curled into an alluring smile, a mixture of restraint and madness, as she tightly embraced Yichu's arm, pulling it into her breasts, and gently leaned her head against his shoulder. Looking at the face so close to hers, inhaling that long-lost fragrance, Tang Yuhu pursed her red lips, her desire overwhelming, wanting to taste it, yet she lacked the strength. She could only lament inwardly. With such a beauty beside him, Yichu felt as if half his body was sinking into a quagmire, unable to escape. A delicate fragrance lingered around his nose, and her hair swayed against his cheek. Yichu finally understood Xiao. A young woman was indeed not to be touched, there was only the difference between once and countless times. His Adam's apple bobbed involuntarily. Yuhua, do you know anything about those things? Wishing you all a happy life. Chapter 235 Beware of BB Dong. Yichu didn't dwell on Tang Hao's matter, resisting the temptation to continue the conversation. Tang Yuhu shook her head apologetically. I'm sorry, I don't know much about them either. Yichu naturally knew who she meant by them, the group of evil soul masters. Is that so? Yichu wasn't too disappointed, he had been prepared. But regarding Sister Dong, although I can't say much, I can give you a heads up. Suddenly, Tang Yuhu leaned close to Yichu's ear, gently blowing warm air, a mysterious smile on her face. Yichu looked at her strangely. Don't be careless when facing the Pope of the Spirit Hall. Tang Yuhu's eyes flashed with helplessness, then a hint of schadenfreude, as she slowly sat up straight. Isn't the Pope of the Spirit Hall BB Dong? Yichu's expression was even more strange. Why was her address to BB Dong so intimate one moment and so distant the next? Sort of, Tang Yuhu said calmly. She wouldn't disobey BB Dong's instructions. Sort of, Yichu was puzzled. Why would she warn him to be careful of BB Dong? Logically, their relationship should be quite good. Lost in thought, the pressure on his arm suddenly changed. Tang Yuhu had stood up again. Ignoring Yichu's confusion, she slowly walked to the harp in the center of the room and sat down. She looked at Yichu earnestly. That's enough of the warning. Listen to me play a piece for you, okay? Yichu suppressed his doubts and nodded gently. Receiving Yichu's response, Tang Yuhu smiled, her jade-like foot seemingly stepping on something. Suddenly, soft golden light poured down from the roof. Under the light, Tang Yuhu's smile was radiant, like a young girl experiencing first love, making Yichu somewhat dazed. Her nimble fingers glided lightly across the strings, each note flowing like a poem full of love, creating a beautiful and moving melody. Her fingertips danced, her elegant movements like writing an invisible poem, a musical poem that floated in the air, stirring the soul. Yichu was somewhat amazed by her superb skill. Even though he didn't understand music, he could hear the various emotions contained within. The melodious piano music first burst forth with the passion of a young girl, interspersed with moments of melancholy and somberness, then filled with love, gradually becoming steady and peaceful. A gentle, serene, and tender aura suddenly enveloped Yichu, his mind emptying, his eyelids slowly growing heavy. The gentle, peaceful piano music abruptly stopped. Tang Yuhu looked softly at Yichu, who had fallen asleep on the table. She rose and came to Yichu's side, slowly extending her hands towards him. Tang Yuhu actually used a princess carry to gently place Yichu on the bed. She looked completely relaxed. If the students had seen this, the impact of this scene would have been no less than Lin Daiyu uprooting a willow tree. She placed Yichu on her bed, gently covered him with a blanket, and watched him sleep soundly. The impulse in her heart could no longer be suppressed. She slowly leaned down, capturing Yichu's lips with hers, slowly coating them with an alluring, glistening moisture. I never expected you to be like this, Yuhua, like a lovesick woman. Suddenly, a dark shadow darted past a window, accompanied by a teasing voice. Tang Yuhu calmly parted her lips, cleaned up the traces she had left behind, and turned to look. She saw a dark figure sitting in the spot where Yichu had been sitting, stretching lazily. Speaking of which, Yuhua, your cultivation is getting higher and higher. You've even made me sleepy. The newcomer had shoulder-length purple hair, deep, bright eyes, and a delicate, beautiful face. She wore a black leather outfit, was tall and alluring, and her voluptuousness was comparable to Zhu Zhuking's. This person was one of the few female titled Douluos in the Soul Master world, Lingyuan Douluo, whose martial soul was the fiery Lingyuan, and whose soul rings were 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black. She was a level 94 power attack type titled Douluo. Sister Lingyuan, what's with all this talk about being a fool? Tang Yuhu looked at the woman in front of her, then turned to look at Yichu, her fingertips lightly touching the corner of his mouth, wiping away the remaining glistening tears. At the same time, her expression was extremely gentle, her beautiful face flushed, and her voice was firm. I have long since become his private property, Glancing at Yichu on the bed, Ling Yuan Douluo couldn't help but roll her eyes. I didn't expect that the man you were waiting for was such a small man, though he is quite good looking, but that's no excuse for him to drink the tea I've already drunk, is it? Sister Ling Yuan drank it. Tang Yuhu was stunned for a moment, her face showing a bitter smile and apology. This is my fault, I didn't notice. It's okay, I'll just drink it back, won't I? Ling Yuan Douluo gently picked up the cup in front of her. Under Tang Yuhu's surprised gaze, she took a small sip. Resting her chin on her hand, Ling Yuan Douluo looked at Tang Yuhu with a teasing expression, then commented, the taste is quite good. No wonder you're so engrossed in it, I wonder if you'd mind having me too. Ling Yuan Douluo looked at Yichu lying on the bed, her eyes filled with curiosity. Sure. I have no objection. Tang Yuhu rolled her eyes at her and sat back down in her seat. Haha, then I'll have to write a proper application. I've protected you for so many years, I've done my part, right? Danger wouldn't be so heartless as to let me grow old alone, would she? Ling Yuan Douluo seemed genuinely interested, her hands supporting her chin, a longing gleam in her eyes. Why bother with all that? Sister Ling Yuan only needs to make Yichu fall for you. Tang Yuhu didn't even bother to change her cup, simply adding more tea. Alright, enough joking. I wouldn't fall for a child, even though he intrigues me. Ling Yuan Douluo tossed her neat short hair, abandoning her flippant demeanor. Turning to Tang Yuhu, he asked, so, what brings you here today? Well, it seems Sister Erlong is being targeted by those evil soul masters. I need your help to protect her secretly. Tang Yuhu nodded slightly, a hint of worry in her eyes. No problem. Protecting you is my top priority. I also need to escape that crazy woman. Ling Yuan Douluo nodded without hesitation, a look of joy on his face, seemingly relieved. Hearing Ling Yuan Douluo mention the crazy woman, Tang Yuhu asked, is she alright? Yuhu, why are you so concerned about her? As the Pope of the Spirit Hall, surely she wouldn't suffer any injustice, Ling Yuan Douluo asked, a hint of surprise on his face. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 236 Zukei's Attack. She's still part of Dongji, after all. If something happens to her, it might affect Dongji. Tang Yuhu smiled lightly. She only knew a little about Bibi Dong's situation. She only knew that Bibi Dong had gone to complete the divine trial. She's alright, her condition is very stable. Ling Yuan Douluo curled her lips, unconcerned about Tang Yuhu's worries. She knew very well how powerful that crazy woman was. Not long ago, because of the evil soul master incident, she even dared to confront the Grand Elder head-on. Does she know about Yichu's matter? Tang Yuhu asked again. Don't worry, this kid is keeping a low profile for now. I'll intercept his intelligence first. The Pope doesn't know about him yet. Who knows in the future, Ling Yuan Douluo truthfully explained, but there was some doubt in her eyes. She didn't know what Bibi Dong and the others were up to, why they didn't just tell Yichu the truth. Tang Yuhu saw her confusion and just smiled wryly. There's no other way, Sister Danger said this is Yichu's punishment. The Pope probably won't really hurt him, but some physical pain is another matter. Knock knock. Just as the two were about to talk something more, there was another knock on the door. At the same time, Zukei's voice came. Teacher Yuhu, Aunt Erlong is looking for you. Hearing the noise, Tang Yuhu and Ling Yuan Douluo exchanged a glance. Swish. Ling Yuan Douluo helplessly picked up his cup, drank the tea in one gulp, and then ran to the window. Outside the door, Zukei, who had finished her homework, was standing there with Liu Erlong. Liu Erlong frowned involuntarily when she heard Zukei address her. Under the nourishment of this period of time, Liu Erlong had become increasingly younger. Zukei, you should call me sister from now on. Huh? Why? Zukei looked at Liu Erlong strangely, then her eyes lit up. The Liu Erlong in front of her seemed to be much prettier and younger than before, and her temper wasn't as bad. Can you tell? I've become prettier, haven't I? Liu Erlong smiled gently. Zukei nodded, but before she could speak, the door opened. Tang Yuhu appeared, and Zukei, forgetting everything else, tiptoed to look into the room. Teacher Yuhu, where's Yichu? She was once again acting as the guide, wanting to see Yichu. Seeing the blush on her face and the shyness in her eyes, Tang Yuhu and Liu Erlong both looked a little strange. Tang Yuhu smiled gently. He listened to one of your songs inside and has fallen asleep. As she spoke, Tang Yuhu turned to the side, allowing Zukei to see Yichu and making way for her. She said gently, if you want to go in and take care of him, then go ahead. Yes, Thank you, Teacher Yuhua. Zukei's face turned bright red, and the hem of her neat white dress was crumpled from her grip. After thanking her, Zukei clutched her pounding hard and slowly walked inside. Liu Erlong was stunned for a moment, then immediately frowned, wanting to stop her. But Tang Yuho stopped her. Click. The door closed, and Zukei, standing in the middle of the room, was somewhat at a loss. Her face flushed, she looked at Yichu lying on the bed, the man she couldn't forget, and her breathing became rapid. She struggled to lift her feet and approach him. Seeing that Tang Yuho had actually closed the door, leaving Yichu alone in a room with another woman with impure motives, Liu Erlong immediately looked at her good friend with resentment. Yuho, what are you doing? I told her to call me sister, not that I really want her to be our sister. Humph, doesn't he have enough women already? Zukei is a little different, Tang Yuho smiled bitterly. Having spent years navigating the circles of so-called nobles, she naturally understood how important Zukei was in a situation where the crown prince was an imposter and the fourth prince was colluding with evil spirit masters. Maybe it'll come in handy someday if something unexpected happens. Come with me. Tang Yuho reached out and pulled Liu Erlong to another room. Looking at Liu Erlong's strange gait, Tang Yuho couldn't help but roll her eyes. Erlong, just how crazy are you? How am I crazy? I'm just training normally with Yichu. He insists on giving me more tasks. Liu Erlong wouldn't admit it. Erlong, you might lie to Danger, but I've been through it before. He's still very gentle. Tang Yuho glared at Liu Erlong, then, as if remembering something, her beautiful face flushed. In Tang Yuho's room, Lingyan Douluo, hiding outside the window, watched the girl's every move with great interest. She couldn't help but murmur, is this kid's charm really that outrageous? Of course, she knew the girl's identity. It was precisely because she knew that she found it outrageous. First there were Bibi Dong, Tang Yuhua, and the other two girls, then the girl from the 7 treasure glazed tile school, and now an imperial princess. It all piqued Lingyan Douluo's curiosity. Inside the room, Zukei was squatting by the bed. She slowly extended her index finger, bringing it closer to Yichu's cheek. She was very nervous, seemingly forgetting to breathe, her pretty face flushed red. Her fingertip gently circled Yichu's face, incredibly smooth, and then she poked it, feeling its elasticity. Zukei's tense heart relaxed. Looking at Yichu's quiet demeanor, Zukei felt a little troubled. She could tell that Yichu seemed to want to keep his distance. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but get up and sit on the edge of the bed. Then she gently leaned down, and immediately a fragrant aroma wafted towards her. She knew very well that this wasn't the scent of Tang Yuho's room. It was Yichu's fragrance, seemingly similar to that of Little Blue Sister. Her eyelashes fluttered, and Zukei looked up at the tightly closed door. She took a deep breath, as if gathering her courage. Slowly, she leaned down again, their four-red lips touching. Zukei trembled, her face flushed crimson, a mixture of fear and pleasure in her heart. Yet, she wasn't satisfied with just that. Her lips parted, gently capturing Yichu's lips. Her long eyelashes fluttered, her eyes misty, somewhat intoxicated. The taste was wonderful, seemingly carrying a hint of Teacher Yuhua's scent. Zukei didn't think much of it. After all, Tang Yuhu had spent considerable time here, and this was her boudoir. It was perfectly normal to have her sent here. Gradually, she pressed her already sizable body against Yichu. This child is too bold. Lingyan Douluo stared dumbfounded at this scene, unable to look away. A smug smile suddenly appeared on her lips. Haha, that kid's about to wake up, wishing everyone a happy life. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237 Embarrassingly Crying. Zukei slowly closed her beautiful eyes, savoring the moment, completely captivated. Yichu, who had fallen into deep sleep, suddenly felt a tightness in his chest and a dampness in his mouth. He slowly opened his eyes, and his Sharingan eyes suddenly lit up with a blood-red light. Seeing the beautiful face before him, he couldn't help but widen his eyes in disbelief. Who was he? Where was he? What was happening? He tried to speak, but only a sob escaped his lips. Noticing the movement of Yichu's lips, Zukei's eyelashes trembled, and her body stiffened. Blood slowly seeped from her face and neck, turning her skin pink. Her breathing became rapid, and she dared not move. Her small hands gripped the blanket tightly, maintaining her original position. Half of her body was pressed against Yichu, but she dared not press down completely. Their cherry lips remained touching. Her mind was frantically processing what to do. The imperial princess had stolen a kiss from someone else and had been caught. Yichu watched her quietly, his warm breath filling Zukei's mouth and nose, making her body go weak. Her hands awkwardly trembled, unsure what to do. She closed her eyes, hoping to avoid further embarrassment and let Zukei get up and leave. But only a moment passed. Zukei was about to collapse. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and her body trembled slightly. Her red teeth gently chattered. Tears slowly seeped from her tightly closed eyes, trickling down her long eyelashes. Haha. So embarrassing, isn't it? That little brat actually cried from embarrassment. Outside, Douluo, who had been prying at the window, couldn't suppress her smile more than an AK could. She had never seen anything so interesting in her life. Noticing the rain of kisses, Yichu couldn't help but feel a few black lines appear on his forehead, thinking that the other hadn't had enough, or hadn't realized he was awake. He reluctantly opened his eyes again. Tick-tock. He saw that Zukei was covered in sweat, tears dripping from her eyelashes onto Yichu's cheeks. She was clenching her teeth, sobbing softly. Yichu looked at this scene and smiled bitterly. Why did it seem like he was the one bullying her? He slowly grabbed Zukei's arms, trying to push her away. But she was incredibly stiff, refusing to budge. More tears splashed onto Yichu's cheeks. Yichu pursed his lips, then paused, as if tasting two different flavors, one delicate, the other youthful. He raised an eyebrow, his eternal kaleidoscope flashing, piercing directly through Zukei's body. This kid, he's got some skills, Douluo outside the window thought to himself. Yichu stood up. Looking at Zukei, her eyes closed, seemingly doing a half-plank on the bed, he couldn't help but shake his head and chuckle. He stepped forward and placed his palm on Zukei's back. Zukei's body tensed again, tears streaming down her face like broken pearls. A flash of green light erupted, and warm soul power surged into her body, gradually relaxing her. However, only half of her body remained on the bed. Yichu bent down and gently lifted her in a princess carry, placing her back on the bed. Seeing her finally beginning to breathe heavily, Yichu was about to reach out to help her catch her breath when his hand stopped a short distance from her chest. He sat silently by the bed, waiting for her to calm down. Shaking off some of his lingering thoughts, Yichu touched his eyes, his face beaming with joy. He hadn't expected that just listening to Tang Yuho's song would result in such a significant boost to his spiritual power. Yichu was certain he could now control a 20,000-year-old soul beast sacrifice. Zukei, lying on the bed, slowly opened her eyes, looking at Yichu's back, a blush lingering on her face. Suddenly, Yichu turned to look at her. Zukei's evasive gaze finally settled. She gritted her teeth, her lips parting as if struggling to say something. Yichu? Yichu nodded calmly, noticing her slightly pale lips. He got up and went to the table, pouring a cup of warm tea. Zukei slowly sat up, leaning against the bed. How are you? Are you alright? Yichu handed her the water. Zukei lowered her head, took it with both hands, and held it in her hands. She gently shook her head, took a sip, and then whispered, I'm sorry, I will, Zukei stammered, unsure what to say, her voice growing softer and softer, almost inaudible. I will take responsibility. Huh? What? Yichu seemed not to hear, and tilted his head in disbelief, asking in return. No, I like you. It's nothing, Zukei quickly finished speaking, then held the teacup in her hands, the tea sloshing about as if about to spill. Her face flushed crimson, and she lowered her head. Yichu looked at her strangely, gave a bitter smile, and sat back down on the edge of the bed. He didn't respond, but said earnestly, Zukei, do you know how many women I have now? Zukei, head bowed, blinked, tears welling in her eyes. Yichu's seemingly dismissive words made her sad. I don't mind. My brother, the crown prince, has already told me. Zukei stubbornly raised her head, looking earnestly at Yichu. Zuking had already told Zukei these things, but she still wouldn't give up. Her upbringing had taught her that for men, especially nobles and royalty, having multiple wives and concubines was no big deal. Yichu looked at her in astonishment. He hadn't had much contact with her, after all. We've only met a few times and barely exchanged a few words. So what do you like about me? My face, Yichu gently rubbed his forehead, somewhat helplessly. Zuke paused, opened her mouth, but didn't know what to say. So, you should really think about this important life decision, right? Hearing Yichu's words, Zuke shook her head. But, all I can think about is you, she finished speaking in a trembling voice, then looked at Yichu earnestly. Tisk tisk tisk, what a lovesick girl, Ling Yuan Douluo watched with great interest from outside the window. Yichu, who had just breathed a sigh of relief, suddenly felt a headache coming on when he heard this. If Jinrixu found out, she would probably bring up a duel. Although we haven't met many times, we are still young, we can get to know each other slowly. Seeing that Yichu was no longer speaking, Zuke gently put down her cup and grabbed Yichu's arm. After staring at Zuke for a long time, Yichu finally let out a slow breath. Knock knock. Just as Yichu was about to say something, there was a sudden knock at the door. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 238, the first phase of special training ends. Zuke Tangyuho's gentle voice rang out from outside. Yichu was taken aback. Zuke, as if she had done something wrong, suddenly looked flustered. Yichu stood up and said softly, you should calm down. I'll be going now, okay? Zuke rubbed her eyes and nodded slightly. Yichu quickly walked to the door, opened it, and saw Tangyuho's gentle smile. Awake? Yes, Yichu nodded gently and closed the door behind him without making a sound. Looking at Tangyuho, he said earnestly, thank you, we don't need to say such things between us. Tangyuho naturally knew why Yichu was thanking her. Her eyes suddenly swept over Yichu's slightly swollen lips, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly, but she didn't expose him. Instead, she directly threw herself into Yichu's arms, leaned on his shoulder, and wrapped her arms around his waist. She spoke softly. Are you leaving? Yes. Yichu hesitated for a moment, then gently embraced her slender waist, nodding slightly. Can you come visit me occasionally? Their faces lightly touched, slowly caressing each other. No problem, Yichu readily agreed. A little dampness touched his face as Tangyuho slipped out of his arms. Actually, taking Zuke in isn't so bad. Her status might be useful. Yichu frowned slightly. He didn't like the feeling of having interests involved in relationships. I'll think about it. Goodbye. With a casual, perfunctory reply, Yichu prepared to leave. Okay. Goodbye. Tangyuho didn't care about his attitude. She knew very well that Yichu would handle the pros and cons properly. As soon as she finished speaking, Yichu activated his divine power and left Yuxun. Tangyuho stood there for a long time, touching her red lips and smiling softly. Then she went straight to her room. Click. Teacher Yuhua, Zuke, who had already stood up, still had tear stains on her face, and her eyes were a little red and swollen. She looked at Tangyuho somewhat guiltily. Yes, Tangyuho nodded, her delicate brows slightly furrowed, and asked softly, what? Did Yichu bully you? And nothing. He's very good to me. Tangyuho looked at the stammering Zuke and shook her head with a smile. What do you mean he's very good to you? You two haven't even started dating yet. Teacher Yuhua, has Yichu left? He has, but I asked him to come to Yuxun occasionally. Tangyuho smiled lightly. She slowly walked to Zuke and gently tidied the hair on her cheeks. Really? A look of surprise flashed across Zuke's face. Of course. If you like him, then seize the opportunity. Yes, thank you, Teacher Yuhua. Zuke blushed, slowly lowered her head, and softly replied. After Yichu disappeared from Yuxun, he arrived at the Lake of Life in the core area of the starred-out Great Forest. The three women were sitting cross-legged by the lake, quietly cultivating. Yichu didn't disturb them, and also chose a spot to sit down and begin cultivating. In the afternoon, after taking them sightseeing in the starred-out Great Forest on Erming's back, Yichu sent them back to Soto City. They played a few rounds of actual combat in the Seoul Arena. As night fell, Yichu bid farewell to Ning Rongrong and the other two women and headed towards Jinrixu. The moment he appeared, a sacred sword was pressed against his throat. Hiss, it's hot. Yichu tilted his head back, moving away from the sacred sword. Yichu, where did you go today? Jinrixu asked coldly, her eyes narrowed. Yujuan, Yichu blinked, his heart pounding. But he still answered truthfully. What were you doing at Yuxun? You didn't go to chat with Zook, did you? How could that be? I just went there to pay a visit to Master Tang. Jinrixu looked at Yichu, and seeing that what he said was similar to the information she had received, She slowly put away the sacred sword in her hand. But her eyes drifted towards Yichu's vital points, and she began to fiddle with the sacred sword in her hand. Why would you go to visit her? I heard that Tang Yuho and your new woman are best friends. You're not thinking of playing around, are you? Yichu's lips twitched, and his eyes showed some panic. Under Jin Ringsu's increasingly dangerous gaze, he seemed to remember something and quickly explained, how could that be? I just heard from Erlong that she can help me improve my spiritual power, so I simply paid a visit to her. Is that so? Jin Ringsu glanced at him sideways. You're not lying to me, are you? I wouldn't mind having a eunuch by my side, how could I? You can feel it for yourself when we cultivate later. Yichu felt a chill between his legs and hurriedly assured her. He also quickly grabbed Jin Ringsu's hand and held it tightly. I can already help you obtain a 20,000-year soul ring, Yichu, you better not be lying to me. Jin Ringsu struggled slightly, frowned, and glared at Yichu. How could I? My spiritual power has really increased, Yichu assured her again, feeling somewhat relieved that Jin Ringsu didn't know about his relationship with Zuke. As for asking Zuke, Yichu thought. Zuke would probably be too embarrassed to tell Jin Ringsu, right? Besides, what he said was indeed true, his spiritual power had indeed increased significantly. Yichu was about to pull her towards the bed when Jin Ringsu suddenly put away her sacred sword and stopped him. Have you eaten? She asked softly. Yichu paused for a moment, then nodded and chuckled. I've already eaten, but it's okay to eat a little more. Yichu paused, then continued, then have some with me. Jin Ringsu's expression brightened, a smile playing on her lips. As if she weren't the one who had just been threatening Yichu with a sword, she pulled him to sit down at the table. With a wave of her hand, some of their favorite dishes appeared on the table. Jin Ringsu personally served Yichu rice and placed it in front of him. Noticing Yichu looking at her, her smile became somewhat smug. She looked at Yichu teasingly. What? Are you happy? Yichu hesitated for a moment, then tentatively nodded. Alright. Then from now on, when you come to my place, come on an empty stomach, Jin Ringsu sneered, a blush creeping onto her face, her tone and expression contradicting each other, her words insincere. Okay, whatever you say, Yichu nodded gently. Hearing Yichu's answer, Jin Ringsu was even happier. In the following days, Yichu seemed to have transformed into a master of time management, living a very structured life. He spent time at Shrek Academy accompanying Yichu in his cultivation and sleep, at the Crown Prince's mansion he cultivated while taking advantage of others' meals, and at Blue Tyrant Academy, battle raged on. At Shrek Academy, the first phase of special training arranged by Uzaigang was also nearing its end. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 239 Never Let Anyone Down. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. Yichu's cultivation level had also risen to level 38 through his own efforts. His training with Jin Ringsu had been almost continuous, and she was now at level 59. It wouldn't be long before he broke through to level 60. Every morning, he would take Xiao Wu and the other 2 girls to the mountain peak to cultivate with a purple demon eye, and then go to the Lake of Life or the Ice and Fire Yin Yang Eye to cultivate with them. Occasionally, he would also take them to the Soto Great Soul Arena. In addition, he would take time every day to see Liu Erlong, and occasionally relax and clear out his inventory at the Blue Tyrant Academy to improve his quality of life. He would also occasionally go to Yuxun to chat with Tang Yuhu. It can only be said that she was indeed the master of Yuxun, and it was very comfortable and easy to be with her. Under the melodious sound of the zither, Yichu's spiritual power, although not increasing dramatically, was steadily improving. On the top floor of Yuxun, in Tang Yuho's room, Yichu listened to the melody while sipping fragrant tea. As if in a trance, his mind became much clearer, and he gained many different perspectives on things. Zheng, the last note faded away. Tang Yuhu gracefully bowed to Yichu, her legs slightly bent, her clothes tightening, revealing her stunning figure. Her body was long and well-proportioned, her lines smooth and graceful, every part perfectly proportioned. Her breasts, slender waist, and shapely hips formed a perfect balance, her skin smooth and delicate. Every smile made her look like a newly blossoming flower, fresh and beautiful. She possessed both the innocence of a young girl and the allure of a noble woman. Tang Yuhu gently brushed a strand of hair from her cheek, a hint of shyness on her face, and sat down beside Yichu. After adding some tea for him, she took his arm and gently rested her head on his shoulder. This had been their way of interacting lately. After telling her about the other women, They mostly stayed close together, quietly keeping each other company. Even without speaking, there was no awkwardness, only a relaxed and peaceful feeling. Yuhua, What's wrong? Tang Yuhua slightly raised her head, her lips parting and brushing against Yichu's cheek, slightly damp. I have a gift for you. A red glint flashed in Yichu's eyes, and a purple light appeared in his hand. It was a purple Ganoderma lucidum, a 9th grade purple Ganoderma lucidum that could help people break free from shackles. Seeing this, Tang Yuhua paused, her eyes softening into a smile, and she rolled her eyes at Yichu. Don't you think it's a little late to give it to me now, huh? Yichu looked at her in surprise, somewhat confused. Tang Yuhua didn't explain, but gently touched Yichu's cheek and leaned close to his ear. She gently pushed the 9th grade purple Ganoderma lucidum back into Yichu's arms, whispering softly, "Keep it, give it to me later." Yichu was stunned for a moment. Although her words were somewhat contradictory, he understood and nodded slightly. A glint of light flashed in his eyes as he retrieved the 9th grade purple Ganoderma back into his divine might space. No wonder his spiritual power could be enhanced simply by listening to Tang Yuhua play music. This must be the effect of her soul skill. Yichu raised his cup and drank the tea clean. Seeing this, Tang Yuhua understood that Yichu should leave, her gentle voice soothing his heart. "Chu, yes, I'm here." Yichu put down his cup and turned to look at Tang Yuhua. "Before you leave, you should go out first. Zuke has been waiting for you for a long time." Tang Yuhua sat up straight, straightening Yichu's clothes, a seductive smile playing on her lips. Okay." Yichu twitched his lips, feeling somewhat helpless. "Yes, as long as you like me, I'll support you, no matter what you do." Tang Yuhua gazed at Yichu intently, slowly bringing her cherry lips forward. Yichu hesitated for a moment, then wrapped his arms around her waist, holding her tightly. Having become a warrior who had fought valiantly, he unusually refrained from physical contact, simply savoring the 2 cherry red petals that exuded floral fragrance. Click. A moment later, leaving Tang Yuhua with a flushed face, Yichu stepped out of the room. "Yichu, you're here." Zuke, who waited in the top floor hall every day, immediately ran over. She wanted to hug Yichu, but stopped restrainedly. Her eyes were cautious, filled with love, but also with grievance and fear. She knew Yichu seemed to be avoiding her. After seeing her a few times at Yuxun, he rarely appeared before her. Closing the door behind him, Yichu smiled gently and nodded. Looking at Zuke, dressed in a flawless white gown, she seemed to have lost a lot of weight. As noble as a swan, she looked at him with restraint. Why was the imperial princess like this? Yichu was about to reach out and take her small hand, but then hesitated again. The light that had shone in Zuke's eyes dimmed again. Yichu cautiously scanned his surroundings. His relationship with Jinriksu was still in the development stage. Although he had tasted her lips briefly over the past 2 months, if she saw even the slightest clue, things would likely return to square one. It was always better to be cautious, and Yichu had also completely branded himself as scumbag. He was clearly trying to seduce Jinriksu, yet he was cheating on her with someone else. How utterly despicable. Since that was the case, Yichu could only try his best not to let her down. Under Zuke's somewhat sad and confused gaze, Yichu walked up to her. He placed his hands on her cheeks. The warmth from his palms made Zuke's eyes slowly redden. Her heart pounded. She tilted her head back, her mind a little dazed. Yichu, I have something to do today. How about I take you for a walk next time? Yichu gently wiped away the tears from the corners of Zuke's eyes. Oh really? Zuke was overjoyed, staring blankly at Yichu, almost jumping for joy. Yes, of course it's true. Yichu nodded seriously. Then can you be more specific? The time. Zuke held her hands to her chest, looking at Yichu cautiously, afraid that this was just a comforting remark. Tomorrow, during your class time. Yichu thought for a moment and found a time frame that made sense given the princess's disappearance. As a student of Yuxun, it was reasonable for Zuke to be learning some music with her teacher in a room, right? Zuke nodded repeatedly, Yichu's arms trembling, showing just how happy she was. Yichu sighed inwardly and smiled softly. Get some rest, I'm leaving now. Zuke softly hummed in agreement, staring at the spot where Yichu had disappeared, unable to come back to her senses for a long time. She smiled foolishly, murmuring to herself, see you tomorrow. Yichu wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 240 Daimyo and the others courting death. Zuke, You can go back to class now, right? Ah. Teacher Yuhua. Zuke was suddenly startled. She saw Tang Yuhua already standing by the door, smiling at her. Yes, Zuke nodded, both happy and shy. Just as she was about to go downstairs, she ran back and hugged Tang Yuhua, who looked at her with a puzzled expression. Thank you, Sister Yuhua, thank you for sharing some of it with me. With that, Zuke lifted her skirt, her face flushed, and happily ran downstairs. Zuke's sudden change in address startled Tang Yuhua. But she quickly understood, after all, she was a royal child. Or perhaps, her feelings for Yichu were impossible to hide, and she had already noticed. Tang Yuhua smiled gently and turned back into her room. At Shrek Academy, the first phase of the carrying stones and running loop special training, tailor-made for Tang San and the others by Yu Zia Gang, had successfully concluded. After undergoing the training plan devised by Yu Zia Gang, in terms of cultivation, apart from Ma Hongjin breaking through one level to reach level 28, the rest remained stagnant. Their physical attributes and foundations were simply stronger. Of course, Oscar, having absorbed the soul bone given to him by Yichu, was already at level 33, though no one knew it. In the three girls' dormitory, Yichu's figure appeared out of thin air. Xiao Wu and Ning Rongrong were talking angrily. Upon seeing Yichu, they immediately rushed towards him. Xiao Chu, Yichu, the two girls each wrapped their arms around Yichu's. Ning Rongrong's growth was evident. She had already shown considerable promise and was considered a top player in Douluo, a card game. She could even rise a level higher. Having not suffered the torment of Yu Zia Gang's special training, her skin remained as flawless as ever. Yichu smiled and nodded slightly, then paused for a moment. Although the two girls' faces showed joy, their earlier anger hadn't completely dissipated. The room seemed a bit deserted. The big cat who always stood smiling beside him wasn't in the dormitory. It was their agreed lunchtime, and she shouldn't be absent without reason. Looking around, Yichu looked at Xiao Wu and the other girl with a puzzled expression. Xiao Wu, where's Zuqing? Why isn't she in the room? HMPH. You still have time to care about that? You smell like more than two women. Ning Rongrong wrinkled her small nose, glared at Yichu, and gently bit his arm. Yichu chuckled dryly and turned to look at Xiao Wu. He met her somewhat resentful crimson eyes. Zuqing was called out by that useless master. What did he want with Zuqing? Yichu raised an eyebrow strangely. It's not just him. That scumbag tiger has been disturbing our peace and quiet every now and then. Ning Rongrong pouted her red lips. She had never had a good impression of Daimyo Bei, who treated women like resources. Hearing about Daimyo Bei, Yichu finally came to his senses. He hadn't expected him to still be so persistent. Click. The dormitory door opened, and before anyone could be seen, his imposing figure was immediately apparent. Zuqing is back, Xiao Wu exclaimed happily. Who else could be so conspicuous but Zuqing? Long black hair, a tight leather jacket that accentuated her figure. Her delicate face carried a hint of coldness, with icy pale purple eyes. When she saw the blue figure in the room, her aloof and unapproachable aura instantly melted away. Her eyes were filled with tender love. Yichu, you're back. Zuqing quickly closed the door and jumped into Yichu's arms. Yichu also pulled his hands away from the two women's embrace and hugged the big cat in his arms. How is it? They didn't give you any trouble, did they? No, even if the two of them attacked together, they wouldn't be a match for me, Zuqing said calmly. She wasn't far from breaking through to level 40. If she hadn't been focusing on mastering the purple demon eye and ghost shadow steps, she might already be a soul master. Did they talk to you about a martial soul fusion technique? Yichu, holding Zuqing, sat on the edge of the bed and placed her on his lap. Yes, Daimyo Bei asked me about the immortal herb before, Zuqing nodded. Yichu thought to himself, just as I thought, Yu Zia Gang's second phase of special training involved team battles at the Soto Grand Arena. Perhaps he already had the idea of taking Shrek Academy to the Soul Master competition. Team battles were just a way for Tang San and the others to get used to it. Anything else? Yichu asked again, using more force to get her to tell the truth, getting quite absorbed in the fight. When she first entered the room, her expression wasn't good. Zuqing's heart tightened, and her face turned bright red. She pursed her lips and had no choice but to confess, there's also the matter of the engagement. That damn tiger is just delusional. Ning Rongrong cursed as she watched Yichu's hand constantly changing its strength. Why didn't you tell me sooner about Daimyo Bei harassing you? Yichu looked at the big cat in his arms and glared at her. We were going to tell you, but Zhu Qing said she could handle it herself. Xiao Wu plopped down next to Yichu, glared at him, and pulled his hand away from hers, which was actually trying to take advantage of him. Alright, Yichu sighed helplessly. Let bygones be bygones, but now that I know, I'll handle it. Yichu lowered his head, and Zhu Qing gave a soft hem in return, offering her red lips for a brief touch. When he looked up again, a coldness had risen in Yichu's eyes. He wasn't petty, and he wouldn't easily let go of anyone who dared to covet his woman. Suddenly, the events of the past few days flashed through his mind. It just so happens to be the 7-day holiday that Yu Xiaogang specially approved. It seems that Bu Li, who was supposed to be brutally beaten by Xiao Wu's 8-stage throw and turned into roast chicken by Ma Hongjin, will be showing up soon, right? That seems like a good opportunity. By the way, Xiao Wu, will Tang San bother you? Yichu thought of another person. Haha. Haven't you noticed that there's always a bunch of wilted carrots at the door? That guy is really annoying too. Sometimes he gets kicked by Xiao Wu a few times and still grins. He's a real pervert. Ning Rongrong giggled, thinking of Tang San's bloody nose and mouth after being beaten by Xiao Wu, and couldn't help but laugh. Xiao Chu. I'll beat that guy myself. You should deal with Zhu Qing's matter first. Xiao Wu raised her little fist, her expression fierce. It's okay, let's just take care of them all, including that Yu Xiaogang guy. Yichu smiled lightly, he already had a rough plan in mind. As for Yu Xiaogang, he'd lure him out and give him a good beating. Otherwise, the owls and Zhao Wuji in the academy would be a real nuisance. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 241 Completely Eradicate. Alright, let's not think about these things for now, let's go eat. Yichu smiled, putting the matter aside for the time being. We're going to my house today, I promised Dad last time. Ning Rongrong came up behind Yichu and hugged his neck. Okay, Yichu nodded, his eyes flashing red, and led the 3 girls to the 7 treasure glazed tile school for dinner. Kid, you're late. When Yichu arrived with the 3 girls, Ning Fengzi and the other 2 were already seated. The white-haired, youthful-looking sword Douluo was still full of energy. After absorbing that soul bone, sword Douluo was on the verge of breaking through to level 97. Yichu still had quite a few 10,000-year soul bones after dealing with Nanguang and the others last time. They originally wanted to help him, but he refused. In his own words, he just lacked an opportunity, and those soul bones were better left for Yichu and the others. Before Yichu could speak, Ning Rongrong said sweetly, I'm not that late. The dishes aren't even all served yet, haha. Rongrong, why are you always siding with outsiders? Your sword grandpa is getting a little sad. Bone Douluo laughed loudly from the side. Bone grandpa, I'm not siding with outsiders. Isn't Yichu one of us? Alright, Rongrong. Yichu twitched a corner of his mouth, stopping her. Greetings, Uncle Ning, and the 2 seniors, Yichu and Xiao Wu said in unison. Alright. Sit down quickly. Ning Fengzi, who had been watching quietly from the side, smiled gently and invited everyone to sit down. After a pleasant lunch, Yichu took Xiao Wu and the others to the ice and fire yin-yang well for cultivation. Inside the ice and fire yin-yang well, Xiao Wu and the other 2 girls cultivated on the side. Yichu, on the other hand, sat at the table chatting with Douluo Senior. Douluo, after Zubang left you a letter last time, has he not contacted you again? How would I know? I haven't been back to Yongdao City recently. Douluo shook his head. He was also somewhat puzzled as to why Zubang knew about his poisoning. However, he didn't want to get involved in such matters and simply pretended not to have seen it. In any case, the snake venom in his body was currently quite stable. Besides, with a blood swan case on his side, Douluo wasn't afraid that anyone would come knocking on his door and force him to do anything. Yichu also shook his head and smiled, while feeling somewhat solemn. Zubang was already openly preparing his forces for the throne. He wondered what unexpected things might happen during Jinriksu's palace coup. Zhu Kei's situation also seemed to be getting more complicated. After all, Emperor Zhu Yi was her biological father. If Jinriksu failed, he absolutely couldn't let Zubang ascend to the throne. That guy's, Wonka, a spoiled, dissolute young man, nature didn't seem to be an act, not to mention that he had sided with those murderous evil soul masters. Yichu rubbed his temples. Thankfully he still had some time, and the power behind him was considerable. He suddenly looked at Douluo, his expression somewhat shy. By the way, senior, do you have any medicine? Douluo raised his dark green eyebrows, looking at Yichu with surprise. What? You've finally figured it out? Planning to make a move on some woman? Ahem, senior, what nonsense are you talking about? Yichu coughed twice, his eyes showing embarrassment. Yichu would never resort to such despicable means to get any woman. If he really wanted to, a glare would be enough. You should know Zhu Qing's identity, right? As for her fiancé, I want him to be completely eradicated. Hey kid, you don't need my medicine. Just chop him up. Douluo snorted twice. His poison Douluo's medicine wasn't something you could just ask for. Alright, you're right. Yichu rolled his eyes helplessly. It was indeed true. Yan Yan will be arriving in Soto City soon. Bring her back for me so I can have a good look at her. A look of longing flashed in Douluo's eyes. He hadn't seen his granddaughter for several months and missed her dearly. I know that. I'll bring her back to see you, old man. Yichu nodded, also somewhat looking forward to seeing Douluo Yan. It was time to give her an explanation. Night slowly fell, and Yichu bid farewell to Douluo with the three women. He then took them to the Lake of Life to visit Daming and Erming. Because Xiao Wu and the others often came here, a small wooden house had been built not far from the lake. A simple 2-bedroom, 1 living room house. Yichu occasionally stayed here overnight, no longer needing to sneak off with Xiao Wu to the nearby blue-silver royal forest for their intimate moments. Although being in nature certainly had its own charm, Ningrongrong and Zhu Ziuqing weren't incapable of pleasing him either. He was almost an old hand at it. Since the three women were all doing similar things, none of them hid from each other. When it was Yichu's turn to be alone, the other two girls slept in another room. Yichu, it's my turn tonight. You'd better come back early. Ningrongrong clung to Yichu triumphantly, her body twisting and rubbing against him, her face flushed with excitement. Yeah, don't worry, I'll handle them quickly. Yichu nodded, his heart also burning with desire. He pinched her chin and gave it a light kiss. Zhu Qing, tonight I'll settle this engagement for you. Yichu looked at Zhu Qing, unusually assertive. Okay, whatever you say. Zhu Qing nodded silently, not asking how to completely resolve it. She just needed to trust him. Alright, keep an eye on Xiao Wu and the others training. I'm leaving now. Seeing Zhu Qing nod, Yichu disappeared without a second thought. Yichu returned to Shrek Academy. His Sharingan glowed purple. In Tang San's dormitory, only Oscar was present. Was he too late? Yichu frowned slightly, his figure vanished, and when he reappeared, he was already in front of Oscar. Yichu, Oscar was stunned for a moment, a look of surprise flashing across his face. This kind of elusive soul skill, no matter how many times he saw it, was enough to amaze him. Yes, Yichu nodded slightly. Yichu, is there something you need from me? Oscar looked at him with a puzzled expression. Do you know where Tang San and the others went? Yichu nodded and asked directly. Oh, they seem to have gone out to avenge Fatty. Thinking of Ma Hongjin's already small eyes reduced to slits, Oscar wanted to laugh. Sure enough. Yichu thought to himself, and asked again, then do you know the location of the chicken coop that Ma Hongjin and the others went to? Tell me the approximate location. Oscar was stunned for a moment. Uzaya Gang's special training had made them more cooperative and united. But he had already unknowingly begun to distance himself from Tang San and the others. After a moment of hesitation, Oscar still told Yichu. Thanks, everyone. Yichu patted Oscar on the shoulder and then disappeared from his sight. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Chapter 242. Just like you all thought. Shrek Academy. Yichu, who had just entered the Divine Might space, turned back. Originally, Yichu wanted to torture Tang San first, then lure Uzaya Gang outside the academy, transform into Tang San's appearance, and give Uzaya Gang a good beating. But after thinking it over, he felt it was unnecessary. Not only would it be full of flaws, but it would also be too troublesome. If they didn't know why they were being targeted, they wouldn't learn their lesson. Walking around the academy, Yichu quickly found Uzaya Gang's residence. It was very close to Flanders and the others' rooms. The eerie purple light in his eyes was restrained, and Yichu's body was like nothingness. He slowly passed through the wall. Uzaya Gang was at his desk, carefully organizing the various data and performances of Tang San, Daimyo Bei, and the others during training. He was completely unaware that Yichu was slowly approaching from behind him. Master Yu, who? The sudden voice startled Uzaya Gang. Clang. He immediately stood up and turned around to look behind him. It's you? Yichu? That's right, it's been a long time. Yichu leaned back in his chair, smiling at Yu Gang, but his scarlet eyes made him look anything but kind. I heard you want Yubei and Zuqing to do some kind of spirit fusion technique. That's right, I'm doing this for their own good, for their better future. Yu Gang frowned, looking at Yichu with a serious expression. Hell, you really are arrogant, Yichu sneered, reaching out to grab Yu Gang's throat. What are you doing? Yu Gang shouted, trying to back away, but froze in place. Yichu easily grabbed his neck and lifted him up. Ugh, Yu Gang gritted his teeth, standing on tiptoe, but couldn't reach Yichu's hand, only able to pry at it, his eyes wide with fury. What am I doing? Yichu's expression turned cold, and he punched Yu Gang in the stomach. PFFT, his throat was being choked, preventing him from making a sound, but blood was already trickling from the corner of his mouth. Having broken 2 of his ribs, Yichu said calmly, I'm just here to warn you. If you dare to interfere again, I'll completely cripple you. Yu Gang's face slowly turned a liverish color, his legs thrashing about like a drowning man. Finally, he kicked his legs and passed out. Gang? Are you there? Suddenly, Flanders' voice came from outside the door. Yichu paused, a glint in his eyes, and then, taking Yu Gang with him, disappeared from the spot. Knock knock. Flander knocked on the door again. Gang. I want to talk to you about the Academy's funding. Are you free now? He hadn't been stingy with the expenses for Tang San and the others' food and medicinal baths during the first phase of special training. Now, there wasn't much money left. However, Yu Gang's second phase, team battles, could solve this funding problem. Soto City. In a secluded corner, several rows of single-story houses, barely 3 meters high, stood there. Many parts appeared dilapidated. A few pink lanterns hung at the entrances, beneath which stood several heavily made up, clearly older women of the night, hawking their wares to passers-by. Suddenly, a piercing scream rang out from a nearby alley. The air was thick with the smell of roasted chicken. In that dead-end alley were Tang San, Yubei, and Ma Hongjin. A crisscrossing network of blue-silver grass had bound a lecherous, middle-aged man in his 40s to mid-air. Ma Hongjin showed no mercy to the man who had not only stolen his coveted phoenix nest but also beaten him half to death and even criticized his belongings for being small. He unleashed a phoenix fireline, turning him into charcoal roasted chicken. Already half dead, bruised and battered, the man let out a piercing scream. He was awakened by excruciating pain, his eyes blazing with fury. Don't disturb others' business, Tang San chuckled, instantly sealing Bully's mouth with blue-silver grass. If it weren't for a fatty's promise to make him wish he were dead, Tang San would have already eliminated him and sent him to hell. Fatty, feeling much better now, right? Yubei crossed his arms, not particularly moved by the scene, but thinking of another person instead. Little San, wouldn't it be great if the person hanging up there was Yichu? He had tried to find Zhu's Huking more than once, but he hadn't even gotten close enough to get a cold shoulder. Just getting a little closer would leave several bloody marks on his face. There will be a chance. Tang San clenched his fists tightly, and the blue-silver grass binding Bully tightened even more. The barbs on it pierced Bully's skin, causing him excruciating pain once again. Tang San looked at the white spirit ring at his feet, thinking of Xiao Wu's attitude towards him and the beatings she had given him. How could he not hate her? Okay. I'll do my part then. Ma Hongjin, with a pig-like face and beady eyes, wiped his nose and said with a smile. Oh? What a coincidence. Actually, that's what I was thinking too. Suddenly, a cold voice entered their ears. A dark figure suddenly appeared on the ground. Tang San and the others were startled and immediately looked up. On the high wall of the alley, a blue-haired boy bathed in moonlight was standing. He seemed to be carrying someone in his hand. Yichu? Tang San gritted his teeth, his voice revealing a killing intent. Yubei clenched his right fist tightly, his withered arm constantly reminding him of his hatred for Yichu. Ma Hongjin, on the other hand, seemed more calm. Yes, it's me. Under the night sky, Yichu activated his eternal kaleidoscope, his face still somewhat embarrassed. Using X-ray vision to find someone in this place was really an eyesore. It made Yichu feel a little uncomfortable. What are you doing here? Tang San looked at Yichu warily, scrutinizing the figure he was carrying. It seemed somewhat familiar. Did I just say? Just like you all thought. Yichu looked at the 3 below and said coldly. Yubei suddenly felt a sense of unease, but remained rooted to the spot, staring intently at Yichu. Catch! With that, Yichu threw Yuziagang at Tang San. Little San, be careful, Daimyo kindly warned. Tang San frowned. The more he looked at the man, the more familiar he seemed. But he still instinctively dodged. Thud. Yuziagang slammed heavily onto the ground with a dull thud. Ugh, he spat out a mouthful of blood, clutching his body and groaning. The wall wasn't high, only a little over 3 meters. But with each use force, it felt as if every bone in Yuziagang's body had struck the ground, causing him to convulse and slowly curl up in pain. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 243. I'm going to deal with you all. As Tang San got closer, he saw the old, black academic gown the other person was wearing. Hearing the groans coming from the figure lying on the ground, Tang San immediately realized what was happening. Teacher, are you alright? Tang San quickly knelt down to help Yuziagang up. The out-of-control blue-silver grass dissipated in the air, and the dangling Douluo lay face down on the ground, motionless. This is Master. Daimyo was also stunned for a moment, his eyes immediately darkening. Yichu, how dare you attack a teacher from the academy? Thud. Yichu lightly leaped down, standing not far away, quietly watching them. Hidden in the shadows, his figure was obscured, only his blood-red eyes fixed intently on Daimyo, Ma Hongjin, and the others in the darkness. Why wouldn't I dare? Yichu retorted, then casually swept his finger across Yuziagang, Daimyo, and Tang San one by one. I'm not only going to deal with him, I'm going to deal with you too. And Tang San. Yichu finished speaking, then turned his head to look at Ma Hongjin, who was trembling slightly. It was as if he had just remembered him. Oh. Right, let's add you too. Yichu had overheard the conversation earlier. Originally, Ma Hongjin didn't want to get involved, and he didn't want to argue. After all, it wasn't his fault that he had pent-up anger, and he vented it by going to chicken co-ops and bungalows. There was nothing wrong with that. But since he insisted on getting involved, then he couldn't be blamed. Ma Hongjin's expression changed, and a hint of fear flashed in his eyes, but he had just fought alongside Tang San. He gritted his teeth. Come on then, do you think I'm afraid of you, Yichu? Don't go too far. Tang San helped Yuziagang up, frowning. He had already opened his purple demon eyes, and his hand, as cold as jade, was pressed on the 24 bridges under the moon at his waist. Too far, Yichu smiled disdainfully. I just don't like my woman being bothered by trash like you. Tang San's face darkened, a burning pain suddenly shooting through his body, and boundless rage welled up within him. Daimyo roared, bastard. Yichu and Zuzuking were originally my fiancé. What? Ma Hongjin looked at Daimyo with amusement, never expecting them to have such a relationship. From the moment she chose me, she wasn't anymore. Yuziagang had also regained his senses, his body slightly unsteady, his dark face barely discernible in the night. Yichu. Xingluozu family. Oh no. Hongjin, watch out. Just as Yuziagang was about to speak, Yichu lost patience and charged directly at Ma Hongjin, who was closest to her. First soul skill, entanglement. Tang San reacted first, immediately manipulating his blue-silver grass to entwine around Yichu. Phoenix Fire Line. Ma Hongjin reacted quickly as well, flapping the chicken wing tied to his arm and spitting out a Phoenix Fire Line. Brother die, fatty. Don't look into his eyes. Tang San's expression changed, and he took out his huge repeating crossbow, throwing it towards Ma Hongjin. Fatty, catch, haha. I don't believe it. Ma Hongjin caught this huge crossbow and immediately aimed at Yichu. Got it, White Tiger Vajra transformation. Daimyo roared, his muscles bulging rapidly, though his right arm remained somewhat thin. Boom. The ground exploded, the blue-silver grass reduced to ashes, but Yichu had already moved closer to Ma Hongjin. Swoosh. Although this huge crossbow's attack was powerful, Yichu's pupil power had improved significantly. He left after images beneath his feet, dodging all of Ma Hongjin's arrows and getting closer and closer. It really is ghost shadow perplexing technique. Tang San's face darkened, his heart filled with killing intent. Luo Sanpao, Yuziagang, forcing himself to stay upright, summoned his Luo Sanpao martial soul, the two yellowish-brown soul rings complementing each other perfectly. Fatty, Daimyo roared. White Tiger blazing light wave. A milky white ray shot straight towards Yichu's forehead. It passed right through without any surprise. Xiao-san, keep attacking, Yuziagang immediately ordered. He already knew something about Yichu's soul skills. He believed that there were no invincible soul skills in this world, there must be a time limit. And Tang San's familiarity with hidden weapons was just right to achieve continuous, fixed-point, uninterrupted attacks. Understood, Tang San responded, and many throwing weapons immediately appeared in his hands, constantly attacking Yichu. Phoenix Fire Line, there was no time to tune this huge crossbow. Ma Hongjin looked flustered and kept retreating, spitting out another crimson flame. Swish swish swish. Hidden weapons kept piercing through Yichu's body, clanging against the walls and ground. How? Yichu chuckled coldly, suddenly shifting his body to appear behind Ma Hongjin. Not good. Fatty, Tang San exclaimed in surprise, his movements halting. Yichu immediately seized the opportunity, a Rasengan larger than a fist suddenly appearing in his hand, infused with a little seasoning, its flames flickering. Before Ma Hongjin could react with terror, Yichu slammed it into his back. PFFT, thud. A scream rang out as Ma Hongjin spat out a mouthful of blood. The Rasengan that struck Ma Hongjin caused his body to spin violently. It grew to the size of a watermelon, destroying and burning his flesh and internal organs. Yichu slammed him against the wall of the alley, the high wall cracking and shaking. He lay on the ground, spitting blood, the aroma of flesh filling the air, unconscious. Fatty, Daimyubei's face flashed with worry as he looked at Ma Hongjin's barely breathing state, followed by anger. Yichu, you've gone too far. With that, Daimyubei charged towards Yichu. I'm alright, Yichu said nonchalantly. He knew his limits, he wouldn't die, at least he'd be bedridden for 10 days to half a month. Boss die? Tang San reached out, but it was too late to stop him. He wanted to use blue silver grass, but discovered that his martial soul had malfunctioned once again. What was going on? Tang San's face turned grim. Yichu, who was about to meet Daimyubei, suddenly narrowed his eyes. His gaze locked onto Yu Zhigang, who was about to secretly release his soul skill. His cheeks puffed out, and a huge fireball that filled the entire alley was spat out by Yichu, rushing towards the three of them. Not good, Yu Zhigang was suddenly startled. Xiao-san, blue silver grass. Unfortunately, Tang San's face was also filled with panic, he couldn't even lift his blue silver grass. White tiger protective barrier. Daimyubei's expression changed drastically as his spirit rings flashed and his spirit power surged, forming a milky white protective shield around him. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244 Preventing the Loss of a Pawn to Protect the King. Silently, Yichu also unleashed his blue-silver domain. Second soul skill, ultimate fire, blue-silver fragrance. Boom. The massive fireball exploded, flames spreading everywhere. From within, one could hear Yu Zhiagang's screams and the agonizing squeals of a pig. A charred figure flew a short distance and crashed heavily to the ground. The women standing under the nearby bungalows fled like frightened birds. Most of the guests still busy in the brothel also ended their entertainment early. Some of the dogs and the male characters were even frightened into illness. As the flames subsided, Daimyubei's hair was curly, his clothes were tattered, and his skin was charred. But he stood there, panting heavily, clearly drenched in cold sweat. Before he could even grin and reveal his white teeth, he suddenly clutched his chest tightly. A searing heat, like fire, burned through his internal organs, causing excruciating pain and contorting his face. Cough cough, Daimyubei clutched his chest, coughing twice, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. Whoosh! Thud! PFFT, Yichu suddenly appeared before him, delivering a powerful punch to his stomach. Daimyubei bent over, coughing up blood, but Yichu grabbed his hair and delivered a knee strike. The churning, burning pain inside his body made Daimyubei's eyes roll back. As soon as Yichu released him, he clutched his chest and stomach, slowly collapsing to his knees, unable even to maintain his martial soul possession. Yichu continued forward. Yu Zhiagang barely managed to protect his vitals using Luo Sanpao, but the attack on his martial soul also affected his physical body, causing him to lie on the ground again, groaning softly. The only one still standing was Tang San, who had enlarged his clear sky hammer to block Yichu's fireball. Cough cough, his condition wasn't much better. Caught off guard, he was still suffering from the fire poison, his face flushed red, and blood trickling from his lips. Yichu strolled leisurely forward. His X-ray vision had clearly seen all of Tang San's subtle movements. Tang San gripped his huge crossbow, coated with potent poison, tightly. He secretly resented that if he had enough poison and materials to create other powerful hidden weapons, he wouldn't be in such a predicament. Careful, Yu Xiaogang's weak voice rang out from the ground. Ah! Damn it! Just as he was feeling indignant, a human face sprouted from the clear sky hammer. Tang San was immediately terrified. He immediately realized this was Yichu's soul skill. With a strain of his chest muscles, a dense spray of poisonous needles carrying a cloud of poisonous mist shot towards Yichu's chest. At the same time, Tang San withdrew his clear sky hammer martial soul, firing his huge repeating crossbow in an attempt to quickly retreat and use throwing weapons. Yichu sneered. Tang San stumbled, only then realizing that a layer of frost had formed beneath his feet. His face panicked. He summoned his jet-black clear sky hammer again. Yo! Seeing Tang San about to move, a burst of lightning suddenly erupted from Yichu's right hand, blue-purple lightning shooting out in all directions. Under Tang San's terrified gaze, it coiled around his body. Ugh! After a series of crackling sounds mixed with Tang San's screams, the alley finally quieted down. Only a faint smell of burnt meat lingered in the air. Looking at Tang San lying on the ground, his body still twitching, Yichu frowned. Clang. The sound of a spring snapping came from behind Yichu, accompanied by Daimyo Bei's roar. Whoosh! Without a doubt, the arrow pierced Yichu's body, then emerged from his chest without a drop of blood. Daimyo Bei's emotion shifted from joy to sorrow. I didn't expect you could still get up. Yichu turned around, looking at Daimyo Bei, who was kneeling on the ground, his hand trembling as he held his huge divine crossbow. He slowly walked towards him. Daimyo Bei, his expression terrified, dropped his huge divine crossbow and retreated. Ugh! Yichu grabbed Daimyo Bei's throat and slowly lifted him up. Yichu! What are you doing? He's not someone you can touch. Yu Xiaogang slowly got up, but couldn't stand, only kneeling on the ground, barely raising his head to look at Yichu. Yichu ignored him, simply watching the struggling Daimyo Bei in his hands. Daimyo Bei! I'm giving you a piece of advice, don't bother Zuqing anymore. Why? She's my fiancée. Haha. No matter what you do, as long as the Star Luo Empire exists, that won't change. Yichu didn't raise him too high, and Daimyo Bei barely touched the ground, standing on tiptoe. He glared at Yichu, his eyes even revealing a hint of smugness. Zuzuking. That bitch will be mine sooner or later. You're talking too much nonsense. Today I'm here to completely resolve this engagement. Yichu's eyes were filled with bloodlust, and a hint of killing intent arose in his heart. He suddenly changed his mind. He tightened his grip, making Daimyo Bei swallow his words, and lifted him up, leaving him hanging in the air, struggling for his life. His gaze also turned to Tang San. Even at this point, Tang Hao hadn't appeared. His killing intent surged. Yichu! You dare! Yu Xiaogang clearly sensed the killing intent emanating from Yichu. If you dare kill any of us, I guarantee. Yu Xiaogang, guarantee, the Haoshan sect, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, and even the Star Luo Empire will not let you and those around you go. Put him down. Put him down. Yu Xiaogang trembled, his voice hoarse like a wild beast. I never said I was going to kill anyone. Yichu frowned, suppressing his thoughts. Seeing that Daimyo Bei, whom he had been controlling, could still laugh, Yichu gently lowered Daimyo Bei slightly, a smirk playing on his lips. Daimyo Bei, do you still remember my black flame? With that, his gaze shifted to Daimyo Bei's waist. I'll settle this engagement once and for all. Daimyo Bei, who had just caught his breath, felt a chill in his groin, and a sudden, overwhelming fear gripped him. He immediately struggled and begged for mercy. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? No. I'll give her to you. No. Oh, shut up. Yichu squeezed hard, and a wisp of black flame ignited Daimyo Bei's trousers beneath his liver-colored face. Do I need you to give her up? She belongs to me, Yichu coldly shouted. Yichu, you dare. Don't do anything rash. The Star Luo Empire won't let you get away with this, Yu Xiaogang threatened repeatedly, but Yichu seemed not to hear him. As Daimyo Bei shook his head repeatedly, Yichu also very considerately treated some of his injuries because of his earlier insults towards Zuqing, preventing him from fainting. To prevent him from sacrificing himself to save the king. Yichu directly used Amaterasu to completely envelop the ugly target. Then he threw Daimyo to the ground. Daimyo, who had just been released by Yichu, let out a shrill scream, rolling and howling on the ground. Trying to extinguish it with his hands and repeatedly pounding on it only intensified the pain. The black flames, however, remained under Yichu's control, slowly and steadily eroding his target. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 245. You can merge yourselves. In a secluded alley within Soto City, cries of agony echoed continuously. A strikingly handsome blue-haired youth silently watched Daimyo writhe on the ground, even banging his head against the floor, his eyes showing no emotion. No matter how much he begged for mercy or cried out for his mother, Yichu remained steadfast in his belief that the problem must be addressed at its root. The black flames between Daimyo's legs slowly extinguished, the target was completely consumed, dissipating into wisps of smoke. Yichu, Yu Xiaogang watched this scene with a chill running down his spine. Tang San clenched his fists and gritted his teeth, paying no heed to the three major powers Yu Xiaogang had mentioned, quietly gathering his strength in the shadows. Looking at Daimyo, whose eyes were now lifeless, still convulsing, and tears streaming down his face, Yichu remained remarkably calm. Turning his head, he casually threw a Rasengan at Tang San's back, eliciting a scream. Then, he slowly walked towards Tang San. Yichu, what do you want to do? Tang San, his body charred black, lay prone on the ground, trying to move, but Yichu stomped on his head. Bastard! Yichu, shut up! Yichu pressed his foot down harder, the increasing force causing Tang San excruciating pain in his head. Yichu coldly said, I'm warning you one last time, don't have any more improper thoughts about Xiao Wu. She doesn't want to see you. Impossible. Tang San gripped the ground, struggling to get up. Crackling sounds. Another surge of electricity flowed into Tang San's body. Good, very good. Yichu's blood-red eyes slowly glanced down at Tang San's body. A deep look of terror flashed in Tang San's eyes, but the constant surge of electricity made him unable to speak. Yichu. What are you doing? Stop. Tang San is a member of the Clear Sky sect. If you dare touch him, you'll die a horrible death. Daimyo and Zhu Zhuking's martial soul fusion skill, that's their trump card that allowed them to survive in the competition. Seeing his beloved disciple about to suffer a major loss, Yu Xiaogang roared angrily, his hoarse voice extremely grating. Yichu. I will make you pay the price. Daimyo also curled up, constantly letting out beast-like roars, his eyes bloodshot. Yichu frowned, suddenly feeling a bit irritated. After a moment of contemplation, as if sensing something, Yichu sneered. A few malicious thoughts suddenly popped into his mind. Bang! To Yu Xiaogang's puzzled look, he abandoned Tang San and slammed a Rasengan into Daimyo's face, silencing him completely. He slowly walked to Buli, who had been lying dead for a long time. You're awake but not getting up, you? Buli's hoarse voice made an unpleasant sound as he slowly tried to get up from the ground. Yichu didn't have time to listen to his nonsense. He opened his Sharingan and immediately controlled him. Give me the medicine on your body. As soon as Yichu finished speaking, Buli mechanically handed over all his potent drugs. Under control, Buli stood up shakily and walked outside. Yichu then slowly approached Yu Xiaogang. Master Yu? You like threatening me so much? You like martial soul fusion techniques so much? In that case, I'll grant your wish. Yichu looked at the words nightly revelry on the small porcelain bottle in his hand, wondering which was more potent, the Super One strawberry or Douluo's. What are you doing? Let me go, cough cough. As Yu Xiaogang struggled, in his panic gaze, Yichu directly shoved the porcelain bottle into his mouth, pouring out about half of it before stopping. What is this? What did you give me to eat? Yu Xiaogang tried to stick his fingers down his throat in terror, but Yichu pressed down on the back of his neck, rendering him unable to move. Since you're so fond of spirit fusion techniques, then I'll reluctantly help you fuse, Yichu said calmly, stomping Yu Xiaogang into the ground. Let me go, no. Yichu? Yu Xiaogang kept gagging, but couldn't stop his parched mouth and burning body. He finally understood what kind of medicine was in that bottle. Let me go. I'll never force Zhu Zhuking to cultivate spirit fusion techniques again. Ignoring his cries, Yichu silently pressed him down. Until Yu Xiaogang's body turned like a boiled shrimp, the crimson color clearly visible beneath his charred skin, and he kept emitting low growls like a pig. The remaining intelligence in his eyes had completely collapsed, turning him into a slave to desire. Only then did Yichu kick Yuziagang onto Daimyubei. Roar, Yuziagang growled, frantically scratching and digging at the ground with his hands. Daimyubei, still conscious, widened his eyes in shock, suffering another severe blow, but his mangled mouth prevented him from making a sound. Teacher, Tang Sen, still somewhat confused about his identity, looked on in horror as Yichu approached. Yichu, I know. I won't bother Xiao Wu anymore. Don't do anything rash. Cough. Yichu frowned, ignoring Tang San's words, forcefully shoving the medicine bottle into his mouth, half gulping it down himself. Then, mimicking Tang San's actions, he pinned him down, turning his back to Yuziagang and the other man, waiting quietly. Only when the half-human, half-beast Tang San had completely lost his humanity did Yichu kick him into the crowd. Without looking back, he slowly walked out of the alley. Leaning against the wall, Yichu intended to wait and see if Tang Hao would make a move, but he couldn't bear the seductive, lewd music emanating from him. Frowning, Yichu activated his X-ray vision, looking in all directions. Finding nothing, he then activated the divine power within his eyes and left. Killing Tang San wasn't a priority for Yichu. If he truly developed a soul skill targeting memories in the future, then the peacock feather, Buddha's wrath lotus, rain of pear blossom needles, as well as Guanine's tears, Yama's decree, and even the ring-exploding technique within the Great Sumeru Hammer would all be his for the taking. Stardug Great Forest, Lake of Life. In a two-bedroom wooden house by the lake, Xiao Wu lay listlessly on the bed, watching Zhu Ziuqing cultivate, her face flushed as she quietly hugged herself. In another room, Yichu lay half-reclined on the bed, eyes closed, lost in thought, his expression somewhat ecstatic. Ningrongrong sat on the bed, her hands supporting her on Yichu, head bowed, dozing off. Like a student in class, fishing during a lesson. Within the Lake of Life, mists swirled. The forest night air was chilly, and Yichu suddenly shivered, causing the bed to shake. Ningrongrong, startled, snapped her eyes open, no longer dozing. Are you alright? Yichu placed his hand on the back of her head, looking at her apologetically. Ningrongrong blinked shyly, carefully wiping away the drool that had escaped her lips from her sleep. Then, blushing, she raised her head and gently shook her head at Yichu. Swallowing hard, she straightened Yichu's disheveled clothes before saying, "Husband, I'm a little sleepy. I'll go tidy up." Since the betrothal gifts and the establishment of their relationship, Ningrongrong would call him husband whenever they were alone. Okay, go ahead, wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 246 Heading to the appointment. Yichu nodded gently. Ningrongrong rubbed her slightly uncomfortable neck and slowly got out of bed. Watching her walk towards the bathroom, Yichu stretched, feeling much more refreshed and energetic. It seemed that Xiao Wu's food reserves hadn't been wasted, she was growing quickly. Husband soon, Ningrongrong, barefoot, ran and jumped into Yichu's arms. She grabbed Yichu's face and quickly pecked him on the corner of his mouth. Yichu rolled his eyes at her, then hugged her back and let her lean on his shoulder. Husband, why did you take so long this time? Ningrongrong touched her moist red lips with her slender fingers, looking at Yichu with a hint of resentment. Maybe it was because the scene when we dealt with Tang San and the others was a bit bloody today, so it affected my mood. Yichu chuckled lightly, his fingertips gently gliding over her smooth cherry lips, shimmering with a faint green light. In an instant, her slightly swollen lips returned to normal. Ningrongrong grasped Yichu's hand, gently licking his fingertips, then leaned closer to him, her upper lip slightly parted, her eyes shimmering. I still have a bit of a lisp. Whenever she was alone with Yichu, Ningrongrong was always very obedient, quiet and well-behaved, never even raising her voice. I know, Yichu chuckled, putting his arm around her waist and placing her on his usual spot. Ningrongrong's face glowed with a rosy radiance, her body soft and supple, yet she still leaned against Yichu, tilting her head slightly, her pearly teeth gently biting her red lips, looking incredibly alluring. I'll treat you, Yichu smiled softly, a shimmering green light emanating from his mouth, which he pressed against Ningrongrong's red lips. Ningrongrong's fair cheeks puffed out slightly, her head tilted back, holding Yichu's arm, her swan-like neck, white with a hint of pink, swaying gently. After a long while, Yichu finally withdrew from his tender embrace. Looking at Ningrongrong, whose face was flushed, mouth slightly open, and breathing rapidly, He slowly pulled the blanket over her. He lay down on his side, holding her close, and whispered teasingly in her ear, "How is it? Can you rest now?" Ning Rongrong groggily nodded slightly, snuggling closer to Yichu while slowly removing her disheveled nightgown, leaving her only in her undershirt, and pressed herself tightly against him, slowly closing her eyes. "How?" Yichu chuckled, expertly pulling Ning Rongrong into his arms and gently massaging her to relieve her fatigue and help her fall asleep sooner. In the quiet night, Yichu vaguely seemed to hear Xiao Wu's soft moans from the next room. The night was enchanting. In a secluded alley in Soto City, the rising and falling sounds of seductive music still hadn't ceased. Bu Li, driven away by Yichu, was gathering his two other cronies to return for revenge when Flander caught them red-handed. Flander had been waiting for a long time after noticing Yu Xiaogang wasn't in his room. He searched everywhere, only to discover that not only were Ma Hongjin and Dime Yubei missing late at night, but Tang San was too. He immediately sensed something was wrong, and after asking Oscar, he learned they had gone to the chicken coop he often took Ma Hongjin to. He immediately activated his martial soul and soared into the sky. Bu Li and his friends had just entered the alley and stood frozen in place when Flander spotted them. Seeing the state of Yu Xiaogang and the others, a storm of emotion surged within him. Even the four-eyed cat owl had almost lost two eyes. Enraged, he immediately killed the three on the spot. When he tried to pull the three away from the ensuing fight, he was almost caught in the crossfire and struck by a club. The next morning, Yichu changed his clothes with Ning Rongrong's help, and then it was Yichu's turn to serve her. After the two finished their sweep time and came out of the room, Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuking had been waiting outside the wooden house for a long time. Daming also poked his head out of the water, while Erming was still snoring loudly. During this period, Daming also felt that the days were not so boring. It was only a short time since dawn, and the air in the lake of life was very cool. The refreshing feeling made Yichu relax a lot. Ning Rongrong, with a rosy complexion, quietly took Yichu's arm and walked out with him, like a golden couple. Xiao Wu quickly rushed into Yichu's arms, looking at the radiant Yichu, and kept burying her head in Yichu's chest, greedily showing off that faint fragrance. Rongrong, Yichu Zhuking also walked over quickly, quietly watching the two women nestled against Yichu, smiling like flowers. HMPH. Zhuqing is much better. Xiao Wu only has eyes for that stinky guy. Ning Rongrong let go of Yichu and strolled over to Zhuqing's side. Not only Yichu liked to hug her, but Xiao Wu and Ning Rongrong also had little resistance to the soft, human-shaped body pillow. Their little hands, scattered about, were tinged with blush. Yichu, holding Xiao Wu, looked at the somewhat spoiled Ning Rongrong and couldn't help but smile helplessly. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Ning Rongrong blushed and buried her head in Zhuqing's arms. "Alright, Xiao Wu." Yichu stopped smiling, cupped Xiao Wu's pretty face, and took a small sip. He led her to Zhuqing, showing no favoritism, and also gave the big cat a little pampering. "Daming, I'll take them away for now. See you next time." Yichu waved to Daming in the distance. "Goodbye, three sisters." Daming nodded, his deep, resonant voice ringing out. Having spent so much time together, Daming had always addressed Zhu Zhuking and the others as Sister Zhuking and Sister Rongrong. "Goodbye, Daming." The three girls happily bid him farewell. Although they hadn't called him brother-in-law yet, Yichu didn't mind. As soon as they finished speaking, Yichu unleashed his divine power and swept the three girls away. Their daily morning cultivation involved practicing the purple demon eye on the mountain top. Purple energy began to emanate from the horizon, and the eyes of the three girls, and Yichu, who was holding Xiao Wu, slowly glowed purple as they diligently cultivated. Soon, the sky brightened, the purple energy dissipated, and facing the fierce winds of the mountain top, the four slowly opened their eyes. Just as Yichu was about to lead them away, he couldn't help but remind them, "Zhuking, be careful when you return to Soto City, although they don't have time to bother you right now." "Yichu, what exactly did you do to them?" Ning Rongrong looked at him curiously. "It's nothing, just gave them a good scolding. They won't recover for at least half a month," Yichu said with an embarrassed smile. "Don't worry, we're basically not staying there anymore. And my sister's situation will be resolved soon too." Zhu Zhuking nodded silently. Yichu nodded slightly, looking helplessly at the little rabbit hanging around his neck, and said helplessly, "Alright, Xiao Wu, if you keep nibbling, my neck will become thinner." Xiao Wu responded softly, cleaning up the glistening marks she had left before letting Yichu go. Yichu shook his head and chuckled, "Let's go. Let's go have breakfast first, okay? Let's go to the restaurant our family just opened in Soto City this time." Ningrongrong happily took Zhu's Huking and Yichu's hands. "Okay," Yichu nodded, activating his divine power, and the mountaintop returned to tranquility. The lingering fragrance in the air also quickly dissipated under the cold wind. After finishing his meal with the three women, Yichu bid them farewell and headed to Yuxun to keep his appointment with Zuke from the previous day. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 247 Revisiting an Old Haunt. As the sun slowly rose, a golden moon still hung over Xiandao City. Inside Yuxun, Yichu appeared directly on the top floor. There was still some time before the nobles arrived. After all, getting them to get up early wasn't easy. Most people came here simply to gain prestige. Yuxun held a high status in the imperial city. "Chu, you're here so early." Tang Yuhe emerged from her room as soon as Yichu appeared in the top floor hall. She seemed to have just gotten up herself. Her long, gray-blue hair was casually pinned up, and she wore a beige nightgown, revealing only a hint of her delicate collarbone and two slender, jade-like arms. Very elegant. Yichu nodded slightly, a hint of surprise in his eyes. He walked to Tang Yuhe, lowered his head slightly, and Tang Yuhe reciprocated by hooking her arms around his neck. A gentle kiss followed. "Good morning," Yichu said softly, his hands on her waist and forehead pressed against hers. Come in and sit down." Tang Yuhe smiled sweetly, returning his kiss again, and habitually took his arm, leading Yichu into the room. Feeling the warmth emanating from her, Yichu put his arm around her slender waist and sat down. "Did you just get up?" "No, I've been up for quite a while. I'll change my clothes later." Tang Yuhe sat down and began to make tea. Every movement was elegant and beautiful, exuding a noble aura. "Has there been any news from Sister Chu Erlong yet?" Tang Yuhe leaned on Yichu's shoulder. She had already mentioned Liu Erlong's little scheme to him. Yichu paused, a wry smile playing on his lips, brushing his hand against the soft, fragrant hair beside him, and shook his head. "Not yet. Although I'm very cooperative, it's mainly because she can't handle it." Yichu chuckled dryly. It has to be said that the Blue-Silver Emperor bloodline's ability to recover is truly powerful. Even when Yichu fought against a Douluo-level female Tyrannosaurus, she didn't dare to take consecutive blows. After a long battle, she needed to rest frequently. Although Yichu could heal her, the exhaustion wasn't just physical. She'd been in a state of blissful ecstasy for too long, and her spirit was also worn out. Everything needs moderation. During this time, Yichu, engrossed in the battle, also discovered that the Sharingan's unconventional abilities could be used to add a bit of fun. With just a glance, she was willing to wholeheartedly teach Liu Erlong some knowledge that had previously troubled her. Like this, Tang Yuhe blushed, as if remembering something, her heart pounding. Then, as if sensing something, she slowly sat up straight, picked up the steaming tea in front of Yichu, and gently blew on it before offering it to his lips. "Hurry up and finish it, Zuke has already arrived." Hearing this, a look of surprise flashed in Yichu's eyes again. The soundproofing in every room of Yuxun was extremely strong, so he couldn't confirm anything by sound. He could only open his Sharingan and look outside. Sure enough, Zuke was already sitting on the sofa in the top floor hall, staring blankly at the stairs and the direction of Tang Yuhe's room door. "Yuhe, what level has your cultivation reached?" Yichu asked, looking at her with a puzzled expression. "It's alright, much lower than Sister Erlong. But I don't have much combat power." Tang Yuhe blinked, chuckling softly, still holding the warm tea in her hand. Yichu was stunned. Not expecting Tang Yuhe to already be a Soul Saint level expert. Resolving his doubts, he slowly sipped the tea, finishing it quickly with Tang Yuhe's help. Tang Yuhe parted her red lips, wiping the remaining tea from Yichu's mouth. She then straightened his clothes. "Alright, go." "Okay," Yichu nodded gently, teasing her playfully. Outside the room, Zuke had already arrived. Her smile never faded. She sat demurely, her bright eyes anticipating Yichu's arrival. Click. The door opened, and a splash of azure hair made her stand up quickly. Yichu had just closed the door when he turned around and saw Zuke's joyful and excited face. She had short, white, ear-length hair, delicate and beautiful features lightly made up, and a long white dress that hugged her slender figure. Her hands were clasped together, as if she were a little nervous. "Zuke, Good morning, Yichu greeted her with a smile. Yes, good morning. Zukei's face flushed, half shy, half excited. Yichu, where are we going today? Let's go to the place I lived in when I was little. How about that? Yichu pondered for a moment, then smiled faintly. Although he had marked many places, they all seemed too prosperous and swarming with eyes and ears, plus he hadn't been back for a long time. Okay. I'll go anywhere with you. Zukei's smile grew even brighter, overjoyed. How could she not want to go to the place where Yichu lived as a child? Okay. Let's go then. Yichu slowly stretched out his hand, spreading it in front of Zukei. Zukei paused, blinked, smiled dreamily, and gently covered her hand with his. Held in Yichu's hand, the long-awaited warmth made her head spin. Feeling dizzy, she tried to pull Yichu downstairs. Don't rush. Yichu's heart skipped a beat. If they were seen like this, it would be disastrous. Explaining would be a nightmare. He smiled and pulled her back. Zukei suddenly looked up, meeting Yichu's gaze, her eyes darting around, her eyelids reddening. I'll use my soul skill to take you there, Yichu said softly, his eyes already glowing with an eerie, blood-red light. Zukei glanced at him, then nodded blankly, somewhat mesmerized. The eternal kaleidoscope spun, space distorted, and the two figures vanished from the top floor of the Moon Pavilion, in Biao's village. Outside lay neat, square fields. The sun wasn't scorching, and the villagers were up early, beginning their work. Not far from the village entrance, on a lush meadow, Yichu and Zukei appeared out of nowhere. Yichu? How amazing! Zukei clung to Yichu's arm, looking around in astonishment. Her eyes were filled with amazement. She hadn't expected to arrive so close to the Empire's border in such a short time. Alright, let's go, Yichu said, looking at the village entrance with a touch of nostalgia. He took Zukei's hand and led her into the village. Zukei followed closely, observing the village Yichu had emerged from. Everything seemed orderly and orderly. However, their clothing and appearance were quite different from the commoners she had seen before. Zukei wasn't the only one puzzled. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 248 Zuking Cannot Be Told. As they walked along the road, villagers occasionally cast curious glances their way. Yichu and Zukei's clothes and demeanor clearly indicated they were from wealthy and noble families, and some were curious about their purpose in coming to the village. Yichu's appearance had drastically changed, so the villagers naturally didn't recognize him. When he brought Xiao Wu back last time, even the village elder, Zhang Tao, could hardly believe that the person standing before him was Yichu. They didn't encounter many villagers along the way. Yichu, holding Zukei's hand, continued walking deeper into the village. Soon, a sturdy, somewhat aged stone house came into view. Moss covered everything, and weeds grew rampant in the cracks of the stones. Yichu, where's this? Zukei asked tentatively, looking at Yichu who had been standing there for a long time. This is where I lived when I was a child, Yichu smiled gently. Let's go in and take a look, okay? Zukei nodded gently and followed Yichu towards the entrance of the stone house. The wooden door, weathered by wind and sun, was somewhat rotten. It creaked and groaned with every gentle push. There wasn't much dust inside, just a musty smell. Yichu waved his hand, and a rich, fresh fragrance dispelled the lingering odor of disrepair. Is this where you lived when you were little, Yichu? Zukei asked, astonished. Standing there, looking at the stone house, not much taller than her, almost touching Yichu's head, smaller than her own bathroom, with many areas partitioned off by wooden planks, a sudden pang of heartache flashed in her eyes. Stop. Don't look at me like that, Yichu, seeing the emotion in Zukei's eyes, couldn't help but pinch her cheek, interrupting her. Why? Zukei covered her flushed cheeks, looking at Yichu in confusion. Because this is the normal situation for most ordinary people in this world. In the villages around these cities, and even in some small towns, there are many people worse off than me, Yichu smiled calmly. There was really nothing to pity or feel sorry for, just a common occurrence among ordinary people. But Zukei remained frozen in place. As an imperial princess, she had never stepped outside Heavenly Dao City, nor even explored its entirety, and knew nothing of the hardships faced by ordinary people. She had never witnessed anything like this before. Hey, sit here for a while, I'll go fix this house. Yichu took a stool from his divine might space and placed it in front of Zukei. How about I help you? No need, I'll be quick. Yichu pressed her down on the stool and turned to replace the rotten planks, wooden doors, and other parts with materials from his divine might space. He also used his Sharingan to examine the stone house, checking for any unruly stones. About 15 minutes later, Yichu had finished everything. Zuke didn't remain seated, she followed closely beside Yichu, quietly watching him. "Yichu?" Zuke called softly, gently brushing the dust from his face with her sleeve as she approached him. What's wrong?" Zuke looked at Yichu earnestly, then suddenly smiled gently. She said softly, "I believe Father and Crown Prince will make their lives better." Yichu paused, then smiled meaningfully. In this situation, who knew who would ultimately win the throne? He didn't say much, only nodded slightly. I hope so." "Yes, definitely," Zuke nodded earnestly. Then pointed to some wooden toys in a corner. "Yichu, are those the ones you played with when you were little?" "No, those are ones I made for Xiao Wu." Yichu shook his head, taking out incense from his divine space. Xiao Wu, Zuke, who had been very happy, suddenly fell silent. She knew Yichu had other lovers, and felt uneasy. They're easy to get along with," Yichu said with a smile, turning to walk towards the peach tree outside. Hearing this, Zuke blushed, overjoyed. Did Yichu mean he had accepted her? "Yichu?" Zuke called out happily, chasing after him out of the stone house. Before she even stepped out, she saw Yichu kneeling before an old peach tree. She suppressed her joy and tiptoed towards him. Seeing the burning incense sticks and hearing Yichu's words, she didn't hesitate, blushing as she knelt down, much to Yichu's surprise. Yichu simply smiled. For the next while, Yichu took Zuke for a stroll. First, they visited Old Zhang and Aunt Zhang at the village chief's house, leaving some money and using a soul skill to heal their internal injuries, also leaving them some longevity herbs. During this time, because of Zuke, Old Zhang scolded him quite a bit, thinking he was heartless and had dumped Xiao Wu. Seeing Yichu's discomfiture for the first time, Zuke couldn't help but chuckle to herself. After a short while, Yichu left Biao village with Zuke. He couldn't keep Zuke out for too long. At the village entrance, Zuke lowered her head, tugging at Yichu's clothes, following behind him like a little wife. 2 rows of teeth marks were visible on her bright red face. Perhaps because he had been scolded by Old Zhang, Yichu, seeing Zuke teasing him, childishly bit her cheek twice. Zuke was so embarrassed that she couldn't lift her head, her shyness mixed with joy. Although her head was down, a smile played on her lips. "Alright, let's go see Nodding City next." Yichu grabbed Zuke's hand, glanced at Biao village again, and was about to activate his divine power to leave. I still have teeth marks on my face." Zuke lowered her head and covered her face, her delicate voice barely audible. Who told you to tease me?" Yichu chuckled and slowly removed Zuke's hand. Zuke looked up at him, pouting and muttering, I won't do it again, I'm sorry." He reached out and cupped Zuke's small face in his hands. The surging soul power transformed into life force, slowly smoothing away the teeth marks on her cheeks. He gently massaged her smooth skin, which had already recovered completely, soft, translucent, and elastic pop. Zuke quickly tiptoed and lightly kissed Yichu's lips. Then she hugged Yichu, leaning against his chest, and whispered that she was alright. Space distorted, and Yichu and Zuke's figures disappeared at the village entrance. In Nodding City, Yichu took Zuke back to the carving shop where he had worked as a part-time student, to visit Jerry and Tom, the couple from back then. It took Yichu considerable effort to prove that he was himself. After briefly recounting some of his own experiences and leaving some herbs to treat their internal injuries, Yichu bid farewell to Zuke. Woof woof. As Yichu and Zuke left, a gray-white bulldog with a red collar around its neck barked at them again at the shop entrance. The elderly couple had no children of their own, so this was a pet they adopted for companionship, which they seemed to name Spike. Walking through Nodding Academy, Zuke held Yichu's arm, looking happy and content. "Yichu, will you still bring me out in the future?" "Of course, no problem, if I have time," Yichu readily agreed. "But on the condition that you don't mention me to Brother Zhu." Zuke looked at Yichu in surprise, somewhat confused, but remembering how Zhu King often spoke ill of Yichu in front of her, she nodded seriously. "Okay, I remember." In her heart, however, she secretly made up her mind to find an opportunity to get her crown prince brother and father to agree to this marriage she had chosen herself. "Alright, we should go back." Yichu looked up at the sky. It was already noon, almost lunchtime. "Okay," Zuke nodded slightly, She felt that she and Yichu had tacitly acknowledged their relationship. With the activation of divine power, the journey of revisiting familiar places had come to an end. Teacher Yuhua. The two had just returned to the top floor of Yuxun when they bumped into Tang Yuhua. How was it? Had fun, Tang Yuhua teased, looking at Zuke, who was tightly hugging Yichu. Why happy? Zuke hurriedly let go of Yichu and then ran downstairs. Yichu, see you next time. After saying this, she swallowed hard, seeing Tang Yuhua's teasing expression, and had to suppress her intention to kiss him before running downstairs. She didn't forget to greet Tang Yuhua. Goodbye, Teacher Yuhua. This girl is really shy. Tang Yuhua chuckled softly, walked towards Yichu, and took Zuke's place, hugging Yichu tightly. Sure enough, even her magnanimity had its limits. She was still a little jealous. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 249 Demanding Justice. While Yichu was strolling around with Zuke, at Shrek Academy, Flander had already separated Yubei and the other two, bringing them back along with his disciple Ma Hongjin. Tang San and the others were still unconscious. Their appearance shocked Oscar. Although Flander had separated them, the nauseating aura still made Oscar frown. A sense of fear rose within him for Yichu. He hadn't expected him to go to such lengths. Flander, what happened to Tang San and the others? Xiao Wu, who had arrived, stared in shock at the scene. All four were ragged and covered in blood. It was a truly pitiful sight. Sigh, I don't know either, Flander said gravely, looking at the four paralyzed figures, unable to bear the sight. He already had very little money, and the medical expenses for these four were adding insult to injury for Shrek Academy. Of the four, compared to Yubei and the others, Ma Hongjin was the least injured. Tang San was seriously injured, and Flander was also somewhat afraid that Tang Hao would attack again. The only thing that made Flander feel fortunate was that Tang San had only committed the act of betraying his master and ancestor, and he himself had not been seriously harmed. In this battle, his good brother Yu Zaigang was attacked from both sides. While attacking Yubei, he was ambushed by Tang San. He didn't know if Yu Zaigang could recover from this blow. What worried him the most was Yubei. Not only did he not find his murder weapon, but he was also rear-ended by Yu Zaigang in the battle, resulting in a tragedy. Flander sighed and could only wait for Tang San and the others to wake up before making any plans. Don't ask any more questions. Xiaoyao, quickly give them some sausages, and then we'll help them clean up. Understood, Dean. Oscar nodded and immediately began chanting a soul incantation to make sausages. Wuji, go and call Xiaozin and the others over as well. Flander took out his empty money bag, feeling heartbroken. Okay, I'll go right now, Xiao Wuji replied and quickly ran outside. Flander had considered borrowing money from Ning Rongrong, but she was, after all, a student, and the three girls seemed to treat Shrek Academy more like a hotel. Besides, he had his own pride and principles, otherwise, he wouldn't have dragged Xiao Wuji and the others into Shrek Academy. Noon. After resting briefly at Yuxun, Yichu bid farewell to Tang Yuhua. His next plan was to have lunch with Ning Rongrong and the others. Fortunately, Yichu possessed the Divine Might Soul skill, otherwise, he wouldn't have the means to become a master of time management. The three girls were chatting. Xiao Chu as soon as she saw Yichu, Xiao Wu jumped onto him as always. Yichu, what happened to those guys? Why was that bear so angry? Ning Rongrong also came up to him, looking at Yichu curiously. Oh, Yichu was taken aback. They immediately realized that Flander and the others must already know what had happened to Tang San and his friends. Yichu, Teacher Xiao just asked us to inform you to come over. Zhu Huking also got up and came to Yichu's side, her expression revealing a hint of worry. Haha, Zhuking, don't worry, it's nothing serious. Yichu smiled casually and reached out to pull Zhu Huking to sit down. That's right. It's nothing serious, we're not afraid of them. Ning Rongrong didn't care either. With her status, even if she killed them, it wouldn't have much of an impact. Yes. Rongrong is right, Xiao Wu nodded repeatedly. She rarely knew what fear was. Suddenly, Xiao Wuji's roar rang out outside the dormitory. Yichu, you get out here. In the open space outside the dormitory, Xiao Wuji and Flander had been standing there for a long time, their expressions gloomy. Ma Hongjin had already woken up, and they also knew the culprit behind all this. Yichu Zhu's Huking looked at him worriedly. It wasn't so much worry as guilt and remorse. She felt all this trouble was her fault. It's alright, Yichu simply gave her a reassuring look and gently patted her rapidly beating heart. Xiao Wu, wait for me a moment, it'll be over soon, okay? Xiao Wu nodded obediently, knelt on the bed, and gently kissed him. Yichu got up, opened the door, and went out. Two sharp, imposing gazes immediately fell upon Yichu. Under their watchful eyes, Yichu slowly approached them. He greeted them casually, Dean Flander, Vice Dean Zhao, hello. Flander remained silent, while Zhao Wuji glared angrily. Yichu, do you know what you've done? Zhao Wuji's soul power surged, clearly showing his impatience. How could he not be furious that his students, whom he had taught for so many years, had suddenly suffered such a calamity? Just taught a few flies that were harassing my woman a lesson, Yichu nodded dismissively. You bastard. Do you know who they are? Zhao Wuji roared, his spirit rings about to flash. Flander gently patted Zhao Wuji's shoulder, signaling him to calm down. He adjusted his glasses, looked at Yichu with a frown, and said, your woman? As far as I know, Zhu Zhuking is Mu Bai's fiancée, right? Flander had turned a blind eye to Yu Zhigang and Mu Bai harassing Zhu Zhuking precisely because he knew this. She's not anymore, Yichu said calmly, then chuckled and added, and she never will be. You're asking for death, kid? Wuji, stop. Flander pinned down Zhao Wuji, who was about to attack. Four eyes peered through the slightly open window of the girls' dormitory. A young lady was watching them from there. He knew very well that these students' serious injuries were already a dereliction of duty on his part, and if he offended the 7 treasure glazed tile school as well, things would get even more complicated. Dean Flander, I actually know their identities. Since you know their identities, why did you use such force? Flander looked at Yichu in confusion. How could you be so calm? This involved an empire and 2 of the 3 upper sects. Did I use force? Yichu was stunned for a moment, his face filled with doubt, then he looked innocent. Apart from Mu Bai, the others seemed to have only suffered minor injuries, not serious injuries for a soul master, and Mu Bai is just a useless prince, and the other 2 can't go home. Dean Flander, there's no need for you to be so nervous. Anger appeared on Flander's face, his eyes twitching slightly. The injuries on their bodies were indeed as described. Hell, Flander gave a cold, forced smile. Even if you're right, as the dean, I have an obligation to protect my students. I also have a responsibility to seek justice for them. Then what does Dean Flander intend to do? Yichu stood calmly in place, looking at him with confusion. Flander clenched his fists tightly, then slowly relaxed them, closed his eyes, and let out a long sigh. Yichu looked at Flander's outstretched hand with a strange expression, then a look of understanding. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. Chapter 250 Jinriksu's Breakthrough. In the end, Flander left with a bag of gold soul coins. Holding Zhao Wuji's hand, his back looked somewhat desolate. He couldn't afford to offend either side, so he could only do what he had to do. Yichu was right, Mu Bai had ultimately destroyed his trouble-causing route, and no matter what, Xingluo wouldn't make a big fuss over him. Besides, Shrek Academy was really strapped for cash. Even if they called all the teachers together and crowdfunded, they couldn't raise enough money for Tang San and the others' treatment. Oscar did have some, but he couldn't take it out, otherwise it would be hard to explain. Therefore, from the beginning, Flander's goal was to ask for some medical expenses. As for dealing with Yichu, someone else would do it. Tang Hao wasn't in a hurry, so what was the use of them being in a hurry? Xiao Chu, why did they just leave like that? When Yichu returned to the room, Xiao Wu ran over and looked at him strangely. That's because Rongrong has a big face. Yichu opened his arms and directly pulled the 3 girls into his embrace. My face isn't big at all. Ning Rongrong rolled her eyes and squeezed in. Alright, Zhu Qing, don't think about those things anymore, okay? Zhu Qing nodded and didn't ask anything more. Let's go eat. Yichu, having gained a little advantage, activated his Sharingan, and the 4 of them disappeared from the room. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill them all. Flander and Zhao Wuji had just returned to the ward when they heard Mu Bai's hoarse roar. Mu Bai's hair was disheveled, his face was covered in wounds, and the excruciating pain in his body couldn't conceal his ferocious killing intent. Saliva flew everywhere, and his eyes were bloodshot. Yu Zhigang in the other bed was also in a state of utter despair, lying drowsily on his side, feeling extremely uncomfortable. Tang San's charred face was also contorted with rage. He lay flat on the bed, staring at the ceiling, where it seemed to be constantly replaying scenes of his betrayal of his master and the three of them together. Ignoring Dime Yubei's wails, he opened his mouth with difficulty. Teacher, Xiao trembled, as if transported back to a bygone era. Forcing himself to calm down, he gritted his teeth and responded. What's wrong? Xiao-san, although somewhat fearful, for some reason, calling him Xiao-san felt perfectly natural. After all, he was indeed young. Teacher, what is my relationship with the Haoshan sect? Tang-san suppressed his hatred. He had more important matters to attend to find out about his origins. More than half a month passed, and night once again descended. In a secret room within the Crown Prince's residence, a stone table was laden with delicacies. After personally serving 2 bowls of rice, Jin Ringsu rested her chin on her hand, quietly awaiting Yichu's arrival. Tap. Footsteps sounded, and Jin Ringsu turned to look, a smile blooming on her calm face, which quickly vanished before she withdrew her gaze. I'm a little late today, she complained. Sorry, Yichu smiled faintly, walked to Jin Ringsu's side, and squeezed onto the wide bench, sitting down close to her. He leaned over and deliberately took a small sip of her cheek. Her skin was smooth and delicate, like porcelain. Jin Ringsu frowned, her face flushed even in the dimly lit room. Her eyes darted around, and she glared at Yichu. I've already told you. You're not allowed to touch me. Okay, I know. Yichu nodded quickly, picked up the rice she had prepared for him, and put some vegetables in her bowl. Hurry up and eat, HMPH. Don't do it again, Jin Ringsu snorted coldly, but a smile played on her lips as she began to eat. Yichu secretly watched her out of the corner of his eye, chuckling to himself while inwardly rolling his eyes. Jin Ringsu suddenly frowned, squinting at Yichu. Fortunately, Yichu quickly wiped the smile from his lips, looking at her with a puzzled expression. Jin Ringsu glanced at Yichu suspiciously, then placed the half-eaten shrimp she had taken a bite of into Yichu's bowl. During this time, the two seemed to have forgotten the previous unpleasantness. Like true friends, or even closer than friends, they had begun to get used to each other's presence. At first, Jin Ringsu would swat at Yichu's kisses and touches, but gradually, the sacred sword remained sheathed. Although she would warn Yichu each time, she wouldn't dodge, well, just verbally. Faced with Jin Ringsu's advances, Yichu no longer simply let her do as she pleased, but slowly responded, personally teaching her various techniques. Although she would suffer minor cuts each time, Jin Ringsu didn't seem to like being controlled. Before long, the two had finished their meal. Jin Ringsu blushed, her deep, golden eyes fixed on Yichu as he wiped her mouth smack. After he finished wiping, she slapped his hand, effectively discarding him after he'd served his purpose. The slap left Yichu's hand red. If you dare put your chopsticks in my mouth again, I won't let you off. You clearly put your food in my bowl, Yichu muttered, rubbing his hand. How can that be the same? Jin Ringsu glared at Yichu until he nodded to indicate he understood, then poured 2 cups of tea to rinse her mouth. Yichu smiled lightly, not taking it too seriously. Jin Ringsu, however, felt increasingly annoyed by this rascal's constant grinning. She glared at Yichu fiercely. I've broken through to level 60. When are you taking me to hunt souls, huh? You broke through? When did that happen? Yichu looked at her in surprise. Just by turning his head, their bodies almost touched. Just yesterday, when you crawled into another woman's bed. Jin Ringsu glanced at Yichu and spoke sarcastically, already dissatisfied with her 3-day cultivation schedule. PFFT, cough cough. Yichu, who was drinking tea, suddenly coughed violently. In his mind, he was already thinking of Liu Erlong's voluptuous figure and the unique experience of last night's pair of soul bones, thunderflame dragon wings, sparks flying with lightning. Jin Ringsu narrowed her eyes, looking at Yichu's guilty look with a hint of sharpness. Her thin lips pursed together, revealing a slightly sarcastic smile. It seems I really was right, ha. Yichu chuckled dryly, skipping over this dangerous topic and answering Jin Ringsu's question. The soul hunting matter is up to you. Just let me know when you've arranged your time, HMPH. Jin Ringsu snorted heavily, throwing away Yichu's arm that was around her. Wishing everyone a pleasant life. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.